control. There's been so many of ideas I've been taking notes on, but we have to get right into coaching. So we're going to do that ASAP. We have one coaching session, then we have a replay roast review, and then we're going to get into the juice. Okay, let's do this. 3:45. You guys get the vote for the map. Hey, how's it going? How are you?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Doing all right. Getting your form pulled up here. Let me turn you up a little bit because you're a little quiet on my end. Okay. I think you should be say 1, 2, 3 for me.
2, 3.
Okay, you're still a little bit quiet, but you're definitely a little bit better. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. What got you interested in coaching?
Okay. So the big thing that got me so I'm new to Overwatch in general. I started with Overwatch, and I feel like everybody that played Overwatch 1 has like a huge knowledge advantage over what I know in the game. So I feel like black people, so you call it department or something like that.
That makes sense. You're cutting out just a little bit. It's might be the mic's a little bit too far, or maybe there's something on Discord's end.
Is it better now that it's
yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. Okay, so you said you started with Overwatch 2, you said?
Yeah. Back in maybe like October, November, whenever it kind of came out.
Yeah. Okay. What got you interested in it? I mean, obviously you heard of it. Everybody's heard of it. But what got you to like actually try it for the first time?
Well, I watched a few of my friends play, and they're like a little bit higher level than me. They're like Masters players or whatever, GM players.
Yeah.
And it just looked like a really fun game. There's no other game like Overwatch out right now.
Yeah.
Or at all, ever. So
yeah.
I watched the gameplay, and I watched like there's 3 different roles that you can play. So you can decide to play as DPS, you can play as support, you can play as tank, have good impact to the role of the fun game.
Right. Right. You're cutting out a little bit again.
Let me try to change like my mic sense.
Sure.
This might make it better so that it doesn't cut out. I just lowered the...
Yeah, it's fine. This stuff happens all the time. It's just technical difficulties are par for the course, so don't sweat. Okay, so yeah, there's no game like it. You got started, and you're already Plat 3?
I made it back up to Plat 1.
Nice. That's really, really good. Like honestly, like you're already above average, and you just started a few months ago. So, do you have a history of first-person shooters prior to Overwatch, or is this your first one?
I played like a little bit of CS:GO a while ago. This was like years and years ago, and then like about a year or so, I tried Valorant, but it wasn't really sticking with me. Like I don't know, it just felt like a off-brand CS:GO. It just didn't play right. Just everything about it didn't feel right. But then Overwatch came around. Like Overwatch 2 obviously came around, and it just stuck.
What do you think about it stuck? Because you're saying in your hero pool that you're playing a lot of soldier, which feels like the traditional boring first-person shooter hero. I'm being a little bit facetious here, but yet something is stuck with it. So what about it? What has it been? I guess
like it's a little bit more complex. Like, you have to keep an eye on, at least I guess in Overwatch 2 it's a little bit different than Overwatch 1, where you can keep an eye on the scoreboard and kind of guess, okay, so their enemy Kiriko probably has ult right about now. Maybe their enemy DPS also has ult right now. So if they combo that, they're probably going to steamroll us. So maybe we try to focus the Kiriko first so that they don't have that really powerful ult.
Right.
It's like there's prioritization, a lot of like team coordination, stuff like that. Like you have to focus as a team to take out those 2 supports in the back line, and then the 3 other people are really, really weak. So it's a free fight for you.
Right. So you're venturing into ult tracking now. Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Because you're right. There is a lot of complexity to the game. I think just even the fact that every hero has such an expansive kit, even if like a hero like Soldier, which I said was sort of basic, kind of, not really, right? There's a lot of nuance to Soldier, even if you get outside of the mechanical aspect, and you compare that even to a game like Valorant where there are abilities. There's a lot to track. There's a lot of nuance, and it can get a little bit confusing, but that's also what makes it so appealing as well. At least to me. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah. No, okay. I like the game. It's good. I tried out Cassidy when I first started because he seemed like a good hero, but it just felt like, I don't know. It felt like he didn't work. Like his damage fall off was too like at a distance, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
And when you first come to Overwatch, it's admittedly really hard to aim in the game
Yep.
because like all the characters have different hitboxes and everything like that.
No
So
movement acceleration either. Well,
yeah,
there's no movement conservation. Excuse me. So like if you 80-80
yeah,
strafe, you stop in a dime.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you enjoy Overwatch. You've been playing your form. Looking at your form here, it says Soldier, some Cassidy, rare. Currently learning Tracer. So how's all that going?
Tracer is really rough because she has such like she has such low
Yep.
HP that if you
Yep.
slip up once or like you mistime your cooldown, it's kind of like the end of your life right there.
Yep.
Like with Soldier, if you mess up your cooldown by a second, like if you miss your Helix rocket like by a second or something like that, it's not the end of the world,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
it just felt like maybe I needed to play something more than just Soldier. So I was
Sure.
like, okay, Tracer seems nice.
Yeah, exactly. I've worked with actually a Tracer player earlier today, and it was the same thing that they are new to Tracer, trying to grind Tracer, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, Hero is hard. Hero is hard." Okay, so Soldier, you really enjoy playing, correct?
Yeah, he's
Okay,
fun.
it's not. I want to make sure that it's a hero that you like playing, and not just he is one of the more basic heroes. So I picked him up because I saw that one YouTube video that recommended it, and then I've kind of stuck with him since. You gotta see what I'm saying?
No, it's more like his aim, like I guess the way that you shoot and the way that you track people
Mm-hmm.
is like really satisfying. Obviously, like my aim is not like amazing or whatever, but it just feels nice when you get like a full tracking kill on like a Mercy
Oh
or a
yeah.
Pharah in the
Oh yeah.
middle of the
Oh
air.
yeah. Absolutely. Okay, sounds good. So we're playing some Soldier, and your plan is to continue to practice Tracer?
Yeah. I actually got advice to like make a second account that you don't care about so much
Mm-hmm.
that like you can go ahead and just try out heroes in ranked.
Sure.
And it's not that you're throwing, it's just that,
Right.
you can go play a hero when you're really bad at them
Sure.
and slowly get better.
Sure. I think my one concern is if Tracer is something that you're going to want to incorporate in your hero pool soon, like at some point you want to be a Soldier Tracer player, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Then Tracer is a little bit of a priority to get up to speed to where we don't have to play her on that alt account anymore. Because
Okay.
we don't want that gap between Soldier and Tracer to remain significant. We need it as soon as possible, getting your ducks in a row, and start playing Tracer at like at least a plat level. And even if your Tracer is like a low plat level and you drop a little bit, that's okay. We need to get that 50-50 Soldier, 50% Soldier, 50% Tracer as soon as we possibly can.
Okay.
Because obviously, if you play only a little bit of Tracer, because I'm still learning her and mostly focusing on Soldier, well, if anything, that gap is just going to grow, right? Whereas
That makes sense when I
right
hear
now,
that.
what I would do is do like 60-70% on your alt account on Tracer until you get her to like a low plat level, maybe even a high gold level, and then you need to bite the bullet and you need to play on your main.
Got it.
And then maybe what you could do is you could pick the situation where I think I like Soldier on this map, where I think Tracer would be good versus their comp, and then we aim for that 50-50 split. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, I like the Soldier Tracer hero pool. They have similar playstyles, but they have slightly different strengths and weaknesses. What are the strengths and weaknesses that you've seen so far from playing those heroes?
So for Soldier, you obviously have your no cooldown. You can run whenever you want and
Mm-hmm.
go pretty fast. Like you can catch up with your team.
Mm-hmm.
Like reduces the amount of staggering that kind of happens if you
Mm-hmm.
die.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can take a further route on the right or left side of the map and
Mm-hmm.
like end up getting to maybe like the point a little bit faster and
Yes.
kind of like distract the enemy. So like if you're on the left side shooting, the enemy has to turn to their right, looking away from their team, if that makes sense.
You're describing flanking. Welcome. You're understanding Overwatch much quicker than a lot of coaches are. Very nice. Yes, exactly. The distraction threat, the fact that you have high mobility allows you to take angles that can cause distractions, and that can you can kind of win by being a nuisance rather than getting directly kills. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going. I'm enjoying this so far.
What else about Soldier? It seems like with like his Helix rocket, I haven't really gotten down the whole like whether I'm supposed to lead with the Helix rocket or whether I'm supposed to like finish with the Helix rocket, but that seems like really situational.
It is.
Like if you're playing against an Ana, maybe when you're like flanking up behind her, crouching behind her, you smack her with the Helix rocket and then like finish off by shooting her. Other stuff about Soldier, I've been told like DPS, high ground, good. Go
Yeah.
take that.
Why do you think high ground is good?
So the way I had it described to me is that when you're looking down at a person, you mostly see their head. Like it's easier to just hit their head. And obviously hitting a headshot does more damage than a body shot. And like when an enemy is looking up at you, you're also harder to hit. Because if you've ever tried to fight somebody when they're on high ground and you're on low ground, and only their head is poking out, it's like a couple pixels, it's really difficult to actually get anything done against them.
Let me show you, because you're nailing it on the head. Let me kind of simplify it, kind of process it for you. Soldier's like the quintessential high ground hero, but the reason why he's a quintessential high ground hero is because he's got the good range to leverage that high ground, right? If you imagine playing Tracer on high ground, it might be kind of hard to utilize your guns from high ground, right? Because that increases the gap between you and the target, so then your guns are not as effective. But Soldier's got good mid, long range pressure. The other reason is that with your sprint, as you said, you can go really anywhere that you want quickly. So some heroes don't have the time or mobility to go to high ground all the time, so they can't. Soldier usually does. So let's talk about high ground here. So the reason why high ground is good is some people say, like you were saying, that it's hard for people to aim up at you, and that is true. However, it's also theoretically a little bit more difficult for you to aim down as well, right? Because you also are just aiming left to right and up and down, but the angle increases the difficulty for you aiming a little bit, right? But it's proportionately the same, so it's a net neutral. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, what high ground does that is inarguably good are two good things. Let me give you a perspective of this here. Do you see my vision right here? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see my vision here? You see the difference?
One enemy came out of focus.
Right. It's just simply, you can simply see more and make decisions about who you want to shoot easier. There's more to see, so you can see your threats. You could see the status of the battlefield easier. And for Soldier, yes, you could do a lot of damage to tanks, but like let's say you wanted to shoot a squishy, maybe from high ground, you have better vision to shoot easier to kill targets. So you end up doing more pressure, more value, because you can see easier from the high ground, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Simple combat, right? This isn't exactly new or unique to Overwatch. This is just real life, right? You go to the top of a mountain to see further. Get more information to make good decisions about the battlefield. But the other reason why high ground is powerful, and this is really important to remember, is what's the difference between this position here and the position that I was just on right here? What's the difference?
He'll go out of focus like sooner.
Right. Now think about it from terms of safety. Do I have cover where I am at right now? Do you see this?
A little bit, but not as much.
Okay. So do you see how I can utilize this corner here? Now you said I don't have as much cover, and yet if I go up here, where's my cover here?
You can walk a little bit backward.
Yes. So actually, high ground doesn't necessarily, it's still good, but it doesn't demand you to have a wall or a corner to stand next to, because the very floor becomes the cover. Do you see it? You see?
Unless like they have like a Pharah or an Echo or
of course,
like that,
or somebody else contesting you on high ground, right?
Yeah.
But if all the enemies are on the low ground or are not flying, as you said, then the very floor becomes permanent cover. So it's actually easier to leverage cover if you're on high ground than if you're on the floor. And you have better vision. And that's pretty much why high ground matters. The aiming thing is definitely a factor, but it's less so a factor. I will say one thing that's different is when you're on high ground, generally you have the entire enemy team in front of you, whereas if I'm the training bot down here, I might have to look up, and then I might have to look right, and then I have to look left and right. Oftentimes high ground, because it has a better vantage point, allows you to kind of keep everything in front of you, and so there's no surprises. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The other thing as well is you can kind of selectively choose, make it a little bit harder for you to shoot because only parts of your hitbox are available. Whereas if you're on the low ground, technically any shot that hits is my head or my body, right? Okay.
Yeah.
you have any questions with that?
No. Actually,
Okay.
another thing I remembered was Soldier. You were asking like what his purpose is that you can like run around and constantly take new angles as him. So like keeping the enemy like, where is he? Where is he?
Right,
Maybe from
right,
the left,
right.
the right, all that kind
Right.
of stuff.
Now let's continue this conversation because angles are unquestionably good with Soldier. But let's talk about why they're good, and then also what are the weaknesses of off angles. So like let's say you are playing Soldier. This will be easier to draw on my favorite trash program, Microsoft Paint.
Oh, nice.
the only the great, and drawn with a mouse as well, so you know it's going to be high quality.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say this is your tank line. This is the enemy tank line right here. By the way, have you been able to find it? Because when I switch and turn off and on my Discord,
yeah. I just had to open up the.
Yeah. Okay, sometimes people struggle with that. Okay, so let's say you're Mr. Green here. Okay, so Mr. Green Soldier Man. What are the advantages of playing inside of your tank line, like next to your supports? What are the advantages of this position?
I mean,
instead of flanking.
Usually, you're like safe behind your tank, stuff like that. But it.
Well, safe to
like,
what? What do you mean safe?
Like maybe you have like a Reinhardt in front of you or an Orisa in front of you.
Okay.
That's kind of like absorbing the damage.
Sure.
But like I feel like you don't get as much of, at least what I've learned is you don't get as much value.
What do you mean value?
Right next to your tank. Value as in like you don't have perfect view of the enemies that you want to kill, because usually their support is kind of like in the back of that red area.
Right.
Like they'll have an Ana back there, or maybe they'll have a Kiriko hiding back there, spamming kunai at you. So like you can go to the far right and like wait a second while they're distracted, and maybe even just distracting one of them, not killing them, stops them from healing their teammates, so your teammates have an easier fight. Like you don't even have to kill them, just bothering them is enough.
This is a skull. This implies that the enemy tank died, so just in case you're curious.
Okay.
This is some next level artwork here.
Yeah, this is art.
Okay. So yeah, you're exactly right. So I think playing inside of your team means it's easier to get healed, right? Yeah, you can benefit from things like BAP window. It's easier to follow up off of your tank's pressure. I do think that oftentimes playing inside of your tank means that it's easier to put damage on the enemy tank so that you can win the tank trade. But as you said, we have to talk about the downsides as well. Harder to get pressure and get picks and distractions on the targets that are easier and more valuable, like the supports, because the visual clutter, right? What's another advantage of going on a flank or an angle? Let me ask you a question. What happens when the enemy team has Earth Shatter, Graviton Surge, Orisa Ult, Diva Bomb, Primal... You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, when they have a big ult like that. Well,
or even a BAP window or Kiriko ult, right? What happens when you're here?
I also get Earth Shattered. I also get mowed down by the window, all that stuff.
Right.
But if I'm like away from my team, actually you'll notice like a Reinhardt will Earth Shatter, and then you can just keep putting bullets into the Reinhardt as he's trying to go shoot, as he's trying to like go finish off your teammates. Right.
I've got somebody in my chat says less susceptible to cleave, and that's the case with all types of cleave, ultimate value or non-ultimate value. Reinhardt fire strikes, random Orisa javelins, hog spam, things like that. You force the enemy team to be more selective. Now, the weakness is, as we said, is that you are more susceptible to not getting support from your team, correct? You're easier to isolate and kill. Now, how does Soldier cope with that?
So Soldier has his own healing that kind of helps with the whole not having your support right next to you. Right.
So that you rely less on your team's sustain, and even your legs allow you to run and grab health packs faster than other people can.
Yeah, that too.
Right. Okay. Keep going. Why else is Soldier less reliant?
I feel like he gets just more value in general from being apart from his team rather than sitting next to your tank and trying to help him 2v1 the other tank. From what I've seen in my own gameplay. Like,
what if you're playing a Bastion? Bastion definitely. Yeah, sure. How fast does a Bastion melt an enemy tank?
Very fast.
Okay. How fast is a Soldier?
Soldier has low damage output.
I wouldn't say compared to others, right? Lower damage output, but he has higher mobility, higher self-sustain, higher, even like Helix is something that isn't as effective on a tank line, but a Helix on a Squishy or on a Tracer or on a Genji is problematic, right? It's infinitely better. Yeah, absolutely. So Soldier, now, when might you need to be careful about taking an angle or a flank as really any hero? What are some heroes or situations that can make it problematic?
When you either like overstay your welcome.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
So imagine you're on the left right here in that green box, and 3 enemies are coming towards you, and you see them coming towards you, but you don't run away fast enough. So even your legs can't help you get away.
Right.
So that's like overstaying your welcome. Or if you
because let me stop you right there. I'm gonna allow it because you're absolutely right. So then you've already gotten your value, correct? By distracting 3 enemies at a good time. That means that your Rhine or tank should win the tank war, right? So then you've already done your job, as you said. So we no longer need to be here. We can go back and resume safe positioning after baiting the enemy team to chase us. So it's a 3-for-1 trade that works great as long as we survive. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
So like if I ended up pushing up further and just tried to like get into their backline, that might be a mistake too, because then you might have, let's say, 3 or 4 people turn on you, and at this point you're so far up that not even your teammates could help you, even if they tried. Even if you started to run back, nobody could help you. Even a Kiriko TP probably wouldn't be far enough for that.
And this is where a little bit of multiplication helps, because if you consider on a scale of 1 to 5 of how much value your flank gets times how long you're able to stay there, let's say in terms of seconds, if you're flanking all the way into their back line and you're on top of them, that's a 5, right? That's super valuable. They're all turning on you. But like, let's say you go so aggressive that you're only able to stay 1 second, right? How much value do you get off that flank? 5, right? Whereas like, let's say you took something like this initial green box here, which was not as aggressive. How aggressively would you rate that 1 through 5?
I give it like a 2, maybe a 3.
All right, let's say 2.5. And how long do you think that you could stay there in terms of seconds? 3 seconds?
I'd say
3.5?
3 seconds, yeah.
So even just this one right here, our net pressure value is already 50% higher than the super aggressive flank, right? And not only that, but because we might die here, then there's a long downtime before we're able to do something again. Whereas here, maybe we're only able to stay for 2.5 seconds, but then we can run away, grab a health pack, and then 5-10 seconds later, we do it again, right? So maybe it's not actually 7.5 to 5, maybe it's 7.5, and we can do it 2 times in a fight, right? And so it's actually 3 times as strong, and you get what I'm saying here. So it's about risk versus reward here. Okay. Anything else that you think that, because you've got a lot of really great insight, especially for new players. So is there anything else that stands out to you?
No, I mean, that's all I've noticed so far with Soldier is that rather than trying to help your tank do the 2v1 tank fight, is that maybe you go experiment with the flank.
Sure.
And kind of like get some experience with knowing how far is overextended.
Yes.
And how far you can safely play, stuff like that.
Right. And to me, that's the most important thing you can be doing, because the key thing is that Overwatch has so much nuance that I can't ever sit down on a call and explain every single situation to you. You have to experiment. That's the best thing that you can do. I encourage Soldier players to sit behind the Reinhardt and shoot the enemy tank for a couple days. See how it goes. When is it good? When is it bad? Okay, now go take a flank. When is it good? When is it bad, right? When is it good to go hard, right? What heroes are really hard to go hard flanks again? Like, what about a Tracer? You know, if they're running a Tracer, Genji, Soldier, Winston, Wrecking Ball, you want to still take angles and flanks, but you have to be more careful, right? Because those heroes are really good at taking those angle flanks, maybe even better than you. You see what I'm saying? So
Genji is a rough one.
Right. So the most important thing you can be doing when you're learning a first-person shooter like you are is to experiment. It's to try different things, see what works, see what doesn't work, try and figure out the logic behind it, because that's so much better than just following a guide, you know? So, okay. Anything else? Any other questions before we actually keep going in your form here?
No more questions.
Okay. Let's keep looking at this form here. So, hero pool looks great. How often do you play it per day? What does your training schedule look like right now?
So I'd say I probably play like 5 to 6 days a week. Like, I mean, some days I'm busy, work or school or something
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Perfect.
But I try to play like 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
I
Excellent.
want to bring it up to like 4 or something like that, but obviously I'd have to split that into like,
Sure.
2 2-hour sessions, because
Sure.
4 hours at a time is
You lose energy.
not that great.
Yeah. 2 to 3 hours is enough to get you to diamond. If you're, it will be enough, especially if we can figure out your tracer little hero pool thing and get your ducks in a row like that, and then improve your understanding of what you need to be practicing with soldier. 2 to 3 hours is definitely enough to get you to diamond, and then maybe get you to masters from there. And then if we need to add more time, if we want to get you to comfortably in masters and so on, then we'll cross that road when we get there, but one step at a time. Okay. Looks good. Sleep is good. Obviously 7 to 8 is better, but 6 to 8 isn't the worst thing in the world. I have a question for you. How do you warm up? Do you have a warm up routine, or you just jump in?
Okay, so I've changed it. So like before, I would like the first thing when I turn on my PC, like the mouse feels weird or whatever, it doesn't feel right to aim. So I just hop in Kovacs for like, like 10-15 minutes or something
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
My mouse feels good. There's 2 little workshop maps that I do for a few minutes.
Which
each.
ones?
There's Vaxta,
Yeah.
one that I do.
Yeah,
And then
Vaxta's
there's
great.
this other one. I think the map is Lijiang Tower, where like the bots like jump up and down
Yeah.
in the air, and I track those for a few minutes. So probably like,
Try this one.
let me see what this one is.
I'm gonna show you.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna show you. I'm still experimenting with this one myself to try and figure out how much I like it, but it's got monstrous potential, I think. So let's try this out. And the reason why I like it is because it feels real. Now, I have not toyed with the settings much, so please do this, because there are a lot of settings that I've not even come close to touching.
Oh, this is like one of those really, really customizable ones.
Yeah, because look at all this. Look at this here. Enemy bot count here. Friendly bot count. I think you just start. Yeah. And then here you go. Like, do you see how this feels like real?
Yeah.
And they're moving realistically. And so on, right? Just don't miss as many shots as I did. And then you have to like actually like play like cover, like, oh shoot, no, I gotta.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
I
on.
haven't delved too far into the workshop. I just like asked a few people what maps they use, and they ended up saying like Vax was probably like the most popular one.
I agree.
Vax is
Yeah.
kinda because like you have the Doomfist coming at you the whole
Yeah.
time, and it's not really hard to aim at a Doomfist, but he's annoying because he knocks you out of place.
I think my problems with Vax is like nobody tries to kill you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So it doesn't feel
Even if they
realistic.
do, it doesn't do anything to you.
What I would recommend as something to do that is probably better than any workshop code that you could do is tryhard FFA. Have you heard of tryhard FFA?
Yeah. I've tried to do that sometimes, but like my big thing with that is it's kind of it feels like a dead game mode sometimes.
Yeah. If it's available, it's great. If it's not, do the code. That's as simple as that for me. So okay, and then I would aim for warming up 15-20 minutes or whatever, and if you want to do specifically aim training, then you can extend that time. But I would avoid Kovacs if you can, especially at this point in the game. Now that you're kind of getting comfortable with moving your mouse, it's better to get more in-game training, whether that's in ranked or in-game Overwatch aim trainers.
Yeah, what I've been doing kind of recently is like, I know I said about my alt account and you said like maybe stray away from that, but I've just like hopped in cold on my alt account because it's obviously like a lower elo, so even if my aim is like bad, it slowly gets better, and then once I feel like I'm warmed up enough to play the game at like a normal level, I just go hop on my main account and start playing from there.
Yeah,
so I don't
that
know
can
like,
also work
which
too.
of those is better or worse, but
I think all of those have potential. I think you just need to experiment with it and maybe change it on a week-to-week basis. I really don't think any of those are particularly bad. I think the only thing I would say is I would say that if you're specifically looking to warm up and get your grind set as quickly as you can, try hard Vaxta ZHTD8, the one I linked in there. That's going to be better because it's rapid. However, if you're just chilling and you're like, I kind of feel like playing some Overwatch, but maybe I'll just get warmed up along the way, then the Smurf is probably okay.
okay, cool.
But the only problem with playing ranked as a warm-up is that ranked is just there's the respawns, there's the queue times, there's the hero select screen.
Fights.
Right. The more fighting, the faster you're going to warm up if that's really what you're focusing on. However, you do have the advantage of getting a little bit of extra practice on like an actual real game. So there's advantages and disadvantages. It just depends on what you want to get out of it.
That makes sense.
To have a better understanding of Overwatch and a healthier mental outlook on improvement. Okay. Do you have any questions so far, by the way? We're almost done with your form here.
No questions so far. I mean, like the healthier mindset on the game, I guess, is probably just like me realizing that I'm probably not like I wanted to hit Masters for season 3, but realistically realizing how long it takes most people to hit Masters is like slowly coming into perspective when I talk to more people.
Yes. Yeah, but just enjoy the journey, right? You're enjoying the game, you're learning along the way. The problem with like setting, I wouldn't say arbitrary, but setting like rigid goals is that goal, hitting Masters by season 3, would probably mean that you would not play any Tracer.
Yeah, that's true. I would just one trick soldier all the way up.
And that would compromise your fun in season 4, right? And season 5. And you know, all of a sudden you're a one trick soldier in like high diamond and still trying for Masters, and you're like, man, when am I going to get time to play Tracer? And then and then you pick up Tracer at some point, but your Tracer's still gold, and you're like, what the heck, you know, and so on. Like it's like if you can have the mental fortitude to do the hard things and to take the investments for the long run enjoyment. I'm not even talking about like practice hard, but just like do the things that you know that you should do because you want to have fun in the game. You're going to be glad for it. Don't let the dopamine immediate reward, winning the game, high shiny rank matter right now. Play for the long run.
That makes sense.
Okay, here. Last question here. What do you feel is holding you back from improving? I want to say my understanding and mentality hold me back the most. My mechanics aren't amazing, but I do not think they're horrible. Okay, what do you mean your understanding and mentality? We've talked a lot about understanding already, but is there anything else there? And then explain what you mean by mentality specifically.
Well, my understanding, whole thing is like Overwatch is so different from every other game that it just feels like when I'm playing, like in my elo that I'm in, like whatever, it's like Plat, Diamond, whatever you want to call it, because it kind of feels like a mix. It feels like I'm just missing something, and that I feel like there's some knowledge that I'm missing that's like making me mess up my plays.
Sure. Okay.
And then mentality is like when I lose 2 games in a row, I'm just like it starts to tilt you a little bit, and then like you're on your 3rd game, you won, and you're still a little bit tilted. It's just like little things like that.
Sure. You're gonna need to learn to deal with that. I think we were talking.
That's like the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, bad luck happens. How many times have you flipped a coin and seen it come up heads 3 or 4 or 5 times in a row? There's your win streaks. There's your loss streaks. Not to mention, if you're tilted, you're more likely to lose more because you're a greater percentage of your team. Like, this isn't 6v6, this is 5v5. So if you're frustrated from a 2-game loss streak where you had a little bit of bad luck, that 3rd game loss streak is a lot more likely. And I also think that if you're playing worse, chat might have to, I honestly don't know the answer to this. I wonder if the Overwatch 2 matchmaker doesn't adjust your MMR until you've had a placement. So like, let's say you're playing really bad in a streak of games. The games I don't think get easier until you've replaced. So if you're playing really poorly, it's not like in Overwatch 1 where you lose 3 or 4 in a row and your SR would drop like 100 and it'd be a little bit easier. I don't think it gets easier. I think it still forces you to play at the level. So it's more likely to lead to snowballs. So
I honestly could not tell you, but it feels like when I'm playing better, like if I have a 3-game streak of like my stats being really well, it ends up putting me in like a slightly higher elo. But again, you can't really be 200% sure because most people have private profile. And not everybody puts on that diamond challenger title.
Right. And I think that's where like the loser queue comes from. You know what I'm saying? It's where it's like you're not playing well and the games just do not get... Because in Overwatch 1, like I said, your SR would drop 25, 30. It gets proportionally easier every single game. I'm not sure that adjustment ever happens in Overwatch 2 until you've had your 7 wins or 20 losses. And by then, you might have lost 10, 11, 12 in a row, you know? But yeah, okay. Don't worry about it. Like, you're playing for the long run. Play to enjoy. And I think obviously it's easier for me to say to not think and not worry about it. But honestly, like, you're playing for the long run investment. Enjoy what you're doing. Have some goals going into each and every game, which is what we're going to work on for the next 20, 25 minutes. And enjoy the process. And also treat it seriously. Don't treat tilt as not a serious, deadly issue, but as in like, it's definitely something you need to work on because, it's not an accident that everybody has issues with tilt because ego and wanting to win and letting that get in the way, ironically, of you getting better is a global human problem when it comes to anything that we try to excel at. And it's a great life skill to build in the game, in the realm of esports, right? So treat this as an opportunity to not just get better at the game, but to work on your mental globally, not just in the game.
Yeah, that would probably help.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, we covered everything in the forum.
Okay.
It was pretty good.
Okay, and if anything does come up, you just holler, and obviously my DMs are always open as well, so if anything comes up at any other time, you just message me. Let's take a look at this gameplay here. So, Vrialto, cool map, flanking opportunities, and let's take a look here. And then obviously, like I said, if you do have any questions, just holler and we'll pause. I think my settings are all good. Okay, so I'm not even going to ask you what Soldier's good at, which is usually how I start these reviews because we've already discussed it at detail. But here's what I will ask. If you take 2 seconds to look at your team and 2 seconds to look at the enemy team, I'm literally going to give you 10 seconds. Tell me, is there anything very important about either composition that may or may not affect how you play or how you position? 10, 9, don't say anything just yet. 8, 7, just think about it. 6, 5, 4, 3, stressful, right? 2, 1, time. What do you see?
Well, they have a Hanzo, so sometimes the flank is kind of deadly. They also have an Ana, so if I get slept while I'm on the flank, I'm screwed, even if I'm not overextended.
So you need to respect their silence, okay?
Yeah. Well, we have a D.Va, she can dive. We have a Genji, not a Genji, what am I saying? We have a Zenyatta, they can heal from long range.
Okay, let's stop right there. That's pretty much, there's not a whole lot relevant on your team that affects you. Maybe you can kind of pay attention to like what my Zenyatta can see, but it's mostly respect the on Hanzo sightlines. That's mostly it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much it. They don't have any way, do they have any way to dive you at all on the flank?
No,
they don't. No, they don't. So you can play flanks pretty aggressively as long as you don't get your head blown off by Hanzo and you don't get slept by Ana. So let's see how we do. There's the trap. Oh goodness gracious. Oh, your D.Va took it for you. You almost walked into it.
Yeah. I feel like the thing about Overwatch is it's really easy to say out of game, like, I should be doing this, I should be doing this. But when you get into the game, it's a little bit harder to think of, like, the stuff like, oh, I should have taken that right side flank.
Why do you think that is?
I honestly don't have a good answer for that one. Like, why, when you're in the middle of a game, it's harder to think of. Maybe it's because you're getting shot at, something like that.
You have to worry about like Junkrat's spam angles, and you need to worry about his trap, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to worry about where Hanzo's spamming, and also has he sonicked that flank? Does this Kiriko have Suzu? Where is she spamming? Is this Ana gonna sleep me? Oh no, I better watch out for nade. Oh no, I have to watch out for the Ramatra slow. Is he spamming at me? Oh no, he has Nemesis form and will chase me down and punch me in the face. Okay? And that's just on their team. That's why. Because right now, we can sit and we can consider 11, 12 different variables. But in the heat of the moment, it's very difficult to. Now, what you need to do, and this is why I only gave you 10 seconds when looking at both compositions, you need to learn how to prioritize. You need to be able to go Kiriko, Ana cooldowns, maybe Ramatra Nemesis, not the most important thing for me in the world to worry about right now, but I better worry about Hanzo spam, right? That's probably pretty important for me. If they're on Tracer, that's pretty important for me. Or on Winston, that's pretty important for me. So that's why you need to practice prioritization, because like you said, it's very easy for you to hindsight coach afterwards, but it's more important to be able to simplify the process so that in the game, you have something that you can focus on without getting yourself overwhelmed. And then as you get better, you'll find that some of those factors that we're talking about, like trap and spam angle and sleep dart, you start to track on autopilot. and it gets you add, and your skill set expands. You know basketball, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, professional basketball players dribble, read defenses, footwork, everything, read their defensive player's posture all at the same time, right? And all at the same time, they're actually not even thinking about those things. They're actually thinking about the play that the coach called on the sideline 35 seconds ago. You see what I'm saying?
That makes sense. So
we want to get
that basic stuff on autopilot.
Right. And so tracking cooldowns, the awareness, how you use your cooldowns, we want to build autopilot. Now, how do you build autopilot as a basketball player with dribbling?
You play more basketball.
And you dribble, and you dribble, and you dribble, and you dribble, and you focus on dribbling, and you focus on your footwork, and you focus on the movement. And that's what we need to do here, is we need to prioritize what's most important for us to track, either on the enemy team, or we find a skill in our own gameplay, like our helix usage, our positioning, our healing station, and so on, or even our aim that we want to practice so that it becomes a stronger autopilot. You see?
Okay.
So we're talking about Junkrat Trap right now, but I wouldn't be so mad if you ran into Junkrat Trap, because I don't think Junkrat Trap is probably the most important thing for you to be worrying about right now. I'm more concerned about where are you going to position? Are you going to use healing station? Are you going to peek this Hanzo unnecessarily? You see what I'm saying? To me, that's more important.
Really important.
Right,
okay.
and your ability to be able to find out what those things are is going to be how you improve. So let's consider that right now. Right now, okay, I mean, this is it, right? We just got spammed out. We stood here for too long. So this was a mistake. This was silly. So where should you have been? When should you have been instead?
I feel like maybe a few seconds ago, like when my diva was dealing with the Junkrat Trap, I probably could have ran across to the left, up the stairs, or even down to that little room right there. Like, yeah, I could have ran here. I could have went up top on the balcony. There was like a few options. Oh, even this harder flank here.
Spooky, but it's possible, right? Maybe even peeking like somewhere back in here. Go all the way even into their spawn here. Now remember, they don't have a lot of mobility, so the flanks are a little bit more open if you pay attention to when your team can help you with the engage. So yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
I guess like an over aggressive flank like that last one that you're showing right there would not be the end of the world right now, because the payload is really, really close to our spawn. So even if I, like, let's just say worst case scenario, I do die, I can come back to the fight fairly fast. Like I know my respawn timer, blah blah blah, but me running to the fight is not that far.
Now let me ask you a question. I'm not trying to nitpick at you, but I want to piggyback off what we just talked about. You're considering respawn timer. How important is respawn timer as opposed to the many other factors that we've discussed right now?
Not that important, as like avoiding Hanzo spam or Junkrat spam. And
the reason why I'm bringing that up is you seem like a very intelligent person, so be very careful about how you apply that intelligence in game. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, too much knowledge is always not the best thing.
Not always. It could be a distraction, because right now you really need to make sure that you get the fundamentals right without considering things like respawn timer. You just need to not peek spam.
Got it.
Okay. Now those things are definitely going to be factors, but right now, probably not the most important thing. Now, this is high risk, high reward. You have to be really careful about Hanzo spam.
Yeah.
Is your team
Junkrat right there?
Is there a fight happening right now?
I want to say to the bottom right.
Looks
of me,
like it.
Fight going on.
Yeah, looks like it. So just be careful here. Okay. Nice. I mean, this is what we talked about high ground, right? That Junkrat thought he was safe. You see? Oh, shoot. Yeah. I'm hiding, right? Nope. Nope. He's not. Okay. Just a goofy mistake, right?
Yeah.
What's the mistake here? So this fight's probably lost, but you did get a pick. Maybe we can keep up the pressure elsewhere. But what's the mistake?
I decided to get off my high ground for some reason.
Well, what else? Look at the bottom left of your screen.
My Zen is about to die.
And look at the very bottom left of your screen.
I have 6 HP.
You have 6 HP. So remember, it's not that deep. You just had 6 HP. What should you have done?
I could have ran down the stairs and got the health pack.
Sure, exactly. And then you could have run around and gone to this hard flank here and set up for whatever, right? But you were just 6 HP. That's it. That's all. I like the high ground. Helix usage looked okay. just need to be careful of our HP.
Stop goofing off and move that payload.
High risk, high reward. And obviously at this point, as soon as the Hanzo sees you, this no longer works, right?
Yeah, a very scary position.
Okay. Probably just not worth it, you know? It's not so much that the Hanzo can shoot you, which is a big one, but also, how much pressure are you getting from that angle right there?
Not enough.
Right. It doesn't feel like you're able to stay there long enough without having to run away for it to be worth it, okay? So that's where we have to go back to what we talked about previous fight with where could we go instead. Oh, now we're pushing up, though. Now that Hanzo's dead. Now, this might actually work. Stay away from the Ramatra, though. This is good. Nice job. Well done. You got a little bit lucky, but not bad. Nice. Now, be careful. Let me ask you a question. Why do you die here? We could say this is... Hanzo is better at sniping you at this range than you are at sniping him. Same thing when they're running Ashe and Kiriko and on. Like, this range maybe is a little bit too extreme, okay?
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. Who are they looking at right now? This is
just me.
Right. This is the Overwatch fundamental that you must understand. And it's something that I talk about in probably every review I've ever done in like the last year and a half, 2 years. Mm-hmm. It's timing. This angle, this high ground, is high risk, high reward, but it makes sense. But if you peek this here now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets can look at you and nothing happens. Whereas if you force them to worry about cart, or at the very least, let's say now, let me ask you a question.
Oh, so if I waited like maybe 5 seconds, or like 3 seconds,
right,
Hanzo would have been a free kill. Maybe Ashe would have been a free kill.
They would have forgotten about you. And not only that, do you see how they're a little bit closer now? They've walked forward to engage in the fight, and walking forward is what you as soldier want the Hanzo to do. That is easier for you to land your shots, easier to land your helix, and less of an issue with the sniper versus non-sniper, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are... And now this fight is... Oh, I was going to say probably lost, but you guys hit a huge bomb. Right? Like, that Ana can't afford to give you attention. She either dies to you or she doesn't heal her team. That's a really rough choice for her to make. Very nice. This Kovacs? Huh. So what I would be doing right now is trying to set up for next fight. Okay, we're down one. Nice. Uh-oh, the Hanzo peaks, so we want to avoid that. Now, this is how Overwatch works. Whenever you're on attack on most maps, if you don't have the luxury of choosing your positions, you have the difficulty of fighting in really crappy spots. You're obviously not going to stay here. However, this is tough, isn't it? What do you do right now? You're down one. They have the high ground, which is where you want to be. What do you do?
So, I mean, I guess I could try to stay here for a second
Mm-hmm.
or so,
Mm-hmm.
and then like there's a staircase outside to my left.
Yes.
That leads into like a little bit of a high ground and like an area I can retreat into, kind of.
Sure.
So maybe that would have been a
Sure.
little bit stronger.
Sure. Exactly. There isn't really a very clear or easy answer here. Maybe the best thing to do here is throw a helix, hide, maybe look for an opportunity to flank up here later, or like you said, flank up here later. Let's see what happens. Oh, now all of a sudden, this is a tough choice. Do I push cart because I'm the only one on cart, or do I assist us in winning the fight? It's tough, isn't it? That's okay. Don't worry about it. I think what you're doing here is totally fine. If somebody else was pushing cart, though, would you go up top left here?
Yeah. Then you get like a free, and maybe even like those stairs like to my left. That's better cover than being out in the open here.
Could be, yeah. And then now you could push cart and contribute to the fight. So brilliant. Now here, I know that they're not likely to touch, but I want you thinking about your positioning right now. What if they did touch? Where would you want to be?
I know that like near the boats is kind of good because it's like
Sure.
you have cover and
Sure.
all of that.
Sure.
I feel like if I pushed up ahead to like you see like right above where my crosshair is, up there would have been a little bit overextended. So maybe
Probably.
not there.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that there's a tall staircase behind me, but I don't know exactly how much visibility that gives.
Let's put it this way. If the enemy team could have easily recontested, which they couldn't, but like let's say that they died 5 seconds earlier and they were able to recontest, I think this position right here is really quite good.
And I do have visor up.
Right. And if that Hanzo starts to spam you out, you can drop, run over here, and then pull a flank visor from over here. Right? Something that's avoiding his sightlines. One thing with Hanzo is if you can keep him guessing a little bit, it makes it harder for him to kind of deal with you, right? Okay, so this is fine. You got to be careful because obviously Ashe can shoot you, but this is fine. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
You in my sights.
We're a little bit... You know what? No, this is good. This is good. Our diva's in. We have high ground. We have a pretty good sightline. A better team might be able to disengage this, but I really think this is good enough. This is a good visor. This is a good visor. I like the high ground. I like the cover. I like the timing with our diva. This is good. Let me give you a little tip. With visor, if you're not sure if you're going to be able to get a good setup with visor, your goal should be to focus on just killing one target. So for example, let's say that you didn't have a good timing to set it up and you're like, I don't know what to do. And let's say their Cassidy starts to like push you, just solo visor him and kill him. One kill is good enough with visor. So this one ends up working out nicely, but if you're like, I don't have a good setup for it, just use it to win a 1v1. It's totally fine.
Okay. So solo visoring like a Mercy and Valk is worth it.
Totally
usually.
fine. Valk is hard because she has self-regen in Valk, so it can be very hard to kill her, but a solo kill, period, with visor is good.
Okay, got it.
Very well timed, very well positioned visor, though.
Thank you.
And so far, I haven't seen any egregious problems with your cooldown usage. I will say one little thing I might say is maybe we're, we can be a little bit sloppy with our cooldown usage. And specifically our helix. Like right here, this helix just hits a pillar.
Yeah.
And your mechanics are not that bad. This is a lack of focus on your helix, not a lack of mechanics. And I think that's one thing that we've seen a little bit, where your helix usage is just something that you tend to use, but I want it to be something that you're using with a little bit of purpose, if that makes sense.
Okay, so not just spamming it, but
right,
actually
aim
using
it.
I think I'm going to get value.
Right, and even if you do spam it mechanically accurately. Put some emphasis on it like you're doing, and don't just use it. Like really hit that shot, you know? If you miss it, make sure that you miss it because, I didn't have my crosshair lined up right. That one was just, you just pressed it. You just saw a bit of red, or I guess in this case blue, and just mashed the button down, and we don't like to see that. I will say this as well. Is this the best position for you to be right now?
No, not really. I could have taken like the far, like not far right, but like directly to my right. Like my diva's fighting two people.
You see how safe this is too?
Yeah.
This is actually safer than where you are right now. With this Ramatra, this is very, very high value right here. I don't like this positioning right here. We're on cart and we don't have good cover, and we also don't have good visibility onto their backline either. Yeah, not our best moment. Probably your weakest fight so far. Exclusively due to your laziness with your helix. And by laziness, I don't mean like actual laziness. It's just if helix, let's say you're focused on positioning this map, I don't care about that helix. You know what I'm saying? But we're trying to find overarching patterns that we can kind of diagnose as problems that we want to develop, right? Or fix, rather.
Yeah. Just not wasting cooldowns.
Sure. I might consider going here with your Zen. Or I might even consider, especially considering that if you know their Cassidy's somewhere over there, you could also do something like high risk, high reward, like a late peek here, right? And then play the cover here, maybe even run back this direction. Okay. This feels scary, right? Not a lot of cover here, right?
Yeah,
not a lot of cover. And what are the odds of you actually getting a pick from this position as well?
Not much, because I only see the Zarya really, and Zarya has like whatever, however much HP she has, like 400 or 500.
The element of surprise is a big factor in getting picks, but it's not just that, but it also sometimes can be a safety catch. Like look at what your Zenyatta is doing. A much higher chance that your Zenyatta, when your Zenyatta goes on this angle here, much higher chance that your Zenyatta is able to hit shots from here Because you see how he actually has like a good sight line on their back line, or if you had taken this angle here, same kind of thing. Okay, let's Ooh, careful. So this is a great example of when we talked about sometimes flanking, most of the time flanking or taking an angle with soldier is a good habit. However, consider this. Do you see what the Zarya is doing?
Well, I mean, she left her team. I assume she tried to come here to kill our Zen and our Mercy.
Mm-hmm. We have a
but
really
she-
advanced technical term for this one in the Overwatch coaching community. It's called feeding.
Oh.
She's trolling. You know, it ain't, again,
Yeah.
it's not that deep. She's just feeding. She's pushed. It's not that she's pushed up too aggressively. She's pushed up too aggressively because look at her backline and her DPS, and look at her. They are doing nothing. They can't even shoot your diva. Your diva's hiding, right? But she's just feeding.
Yeah.
So for you as a soldier, do you need to take a flank right now?
No, I
You
didn't
just
need to
shoot the
mow
tank.
down the Zarya.
You just shoot the tank. Just burn the Zarya. And let me tell you something. That Zarya is going to use both of her bubbles. She's going to be 1 HP. They're going to blow everything to keep her alive. And that sets the stage perfectly for a flank later. When they won't have the cooldowns, when they're all going to be focused on assisting that Zarya. So this is why it's really important to to not just be like, oh, I permanently flank. Well, why do you flank? When is flanking good? When is flanking bad? And understanding that as best as you can. So like right now, this is good, right? Zarya's 1 HP. Go take that angle. Because right, do you see what they just used? They just used Suzu. That's both of their bubbles. That Ana might have used Nade as well. She did. So they are wide open to being punished on the flank. And yet, what do? You continue to walk forward on me. Right?
Oh,
Now, I'm going to
so
be
that
honest
was
with you.
the time.
I'm going to be honest with you. This is not basic Overwatch. This is some advanced level stuff. But the reason why I'm telling this to you is because this goes back to what we were talking about earlier when it comes to experimenting with those positions, right? Experimenting when is shooting a tank good, when is flanking good. We just saw a perfect fight where shooting tank was good, but you were slow to shoot the Zarya. You should have been shooting tank faster and then shooting backline faster afterwards. You see that?
So knowing when to swap between the two.
Right,
is also good.
right. Depending on how aggressively that they were playing. And that's what I want you to do, especially somebody who is as intelligent as you, is to not overwhelm yourself, like we said, but to definitely experiment some. When you're learning something, whether it's Helix Rocket, whether it's your flank usage, whether it's your healing station, I want you experimenting.
Okay. So like dropping a few ranks is not the end of the world while I'm experimenting.
Right. Because again, I ask you, what's the best use of Helix versus this composition in this situation? Do you know? I can guess, but I don't know for sure.
I would say using it against the Ana to secure like a super fast kill.
Sure. Would you spam it off of cooldown versus this comp, or would you try to win it to use like clutch situations to finish kills?
I would try to hold it for like when I know I'm
Okay.
gonna get a kill.
Now
Like,
let me
when
ask
I
you a
know
question.
I'm facing Ashe.
Are you sure that that's the case?
I'm not 100% sure.
And,
but
and
I'm
that's
like
what
80%.
that's right. And I'm 85% sure. But this is why experimentation is clutch, because I'm not going to always be here, right? You need to be able to go and figure these things out. That's what makes great players great. Well-coached players are usually players that learn how to coach themselves better. That's what my job is. My job is to get you started up and to answer questions, and then to give you the kick in the pants of how to teach it yourself.
Makes sense.
Like right now, is this flank the best thing to do right now? Why is this flank not going to work?
Because the enemy's not in the middle of a fight. So
Right.
It's not like I'm.
Right.
It's not like I'm fighting enemies who aren't looking at me. I'm fighting enemies who are looking for a fight. So
Right.
There's 4 people there looking for me or anybody else on my team.
Correct. And not only that, you did not have information on the flank that you wanted to use, did you? You didn't know the Zarya was there, so it made it a little bit higher risk. So that's another thing you have to consider. Is like, is that flank occupied? Because if the Zarya is spamming on main, you know, or here, you know what I'm saying? So if you knew the Zarya was here, where would you go?
I would have gone to that little room you see right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. You'd wait a few seconds, like you said, right? The fight's not happening, so give it a second or two, and then peek this here.
Yeah.
And the Zarya is in no, and the Zarya doesn't have the range or mobility to kind of. She has to pick a flank or an angle and kind of control that one space. So I like that fact that you were trying that. That's good, but we can also go back and find out why that didn't work so well.
Got it.
Zarya's on the left. We can be on the right. Ashe is peeking main, so we're going to peek left, or we're going to peek right, right? You're playing a very dynamic hero that can do a lot of things. It can spam, you can get close, you can dive, you can flank, you can shoot tanks. So it's all about making those reads. This is going to work. And the funny thing is it doesn't even need to directly get kills. It forces a response that guarantees that you guys win the fight. You see that? You see the panic, right? The panic.
Them back.
Right. You needed to be careful here. Maybe a little bit more careful than you were, but as soon as I saw this, I knew the fight was won. All right, are we going to do better than we did last time in this exact same scenario? You remember where we were last time?
Yeah, I think that I play on the cart here.
Yeah. Now look at you were very unusual in the fact that you brought up ult tracking. It's almost the first thing we talked about and why Overwatch is interesting. Let's actually put that to skill. Look at their top left. Do you see what they have?
They have.
You tell me. You tell me what they're gonna do. Tell me. You're gonna fight plan for them. What are they gonna? I mean, you've probably played this recently, so you probably remember. But you could probably guess, right? Who's gonna get nanoed? What ults are they gonna use? What do you think?
They should nano the Zarya here, and then they should pop Kitsune maybe like a few seconds deep into that.
Yeah.
And then as they're trying to contest for like the last fight to make us hold out for as long as possible, they should pop Cassidy all because it does damage reduction. So he might even live if he has double heals on him. Sure,
and they're close to grab as well, 97%. So there is a lot of traffic in this part right here. You do not want to be here, especially with the ultimates that they have here. Whereas this here, you can win this duel. You hit one Helix, this Cassie has to go all the way back to spawn, and then you can actually take this angle and shoot the Zarya or the Kiriko or the Ana from a range that's friendlier and safer, especially given the ult situation. So let's see what happens. Very problematic, right? Very problematic.
A lot of ults at once.
That was terrifying for you. And even though you survived, what was your contribution there?
Not much. I
Nothing.
wasn't doing damage on anybody. I was
right. You just ran. Oh my goodness, your diva clutches. Do you see how stressful this feels? Let me change your perspective just a little bit here from our beautiful viewpoint on the right. Let's watch.
3 Cassidy kill.
Yep. And he's dead, and he doesn't even get to utilize this flank that he wants, right?
Yep.
Keep watching. Just Kovacs, you know? Just Kovacs.
Yeah,
and if that Zarya wants to push you out, she has to go so much further. She has to go overextend, right? For her to be able to push you out. And you have no threat. There's no risk of you actually dying either.
Yeah.
So your pressure this fight, oh my goodness gracious. We found out why you were on card. Your big brain knew it all along.
Oh, nobody else was on card.
We call that a C9. You ever heard of the term C9 before?
Yeah, I've heard it a few times, seen it dropped in chat and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's what we call a Charlie Niner right there. Well done. I guess that was the plan all along. I was just way behind, I guess. Okay. Do you have any questions so far?
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
The thing about ult tracking is it's a little bit weird because, okay, people have told me in Overwatch 1 you'd gain the same static ult charge from doing damage to anybody, but in Overwatch 2, there's a thing where tanks feed 30% less ult charge. So tracking ults, it feels like, even for myself, like when I look at my scoreboard, sometimes I'll have ult up at like, I don't know, I'd say like 1400, and sometimes I'll have ult up at like 1800 damage. So it's like, it's a little bit weird to track it. It feels like it's kind of iffy.
It's harder and it's easier because there's now public stats available, but also those public stats are not always super reliable. So you have to have an idea of like how much healing, it's also healing as well, did they do to the tank? How much damage did they do to the tank, and so on? Yeah. I mean, that's not really an answer, but yes, it's hard. That being said, generally, rather than looking directly at the stats, what I would recommend with ult track is just they haven't used their ult this fight or the fight before. They haven't. It's like every 2 or 3 fights you can expect them to have the ultimate.
Okay, that's a little bit easier.
Yeah,
than trying to track the exact stats.
Yeah. I would not recommend tracking the exact stats. That's something that not even Overwatch League players usually do. They definitely utilize the stats, first fight especially, but they rarely strictly adhere, like robot brain the stats. It almost never, ever, ever happens.
Got it.
So just get a general vibe for it, and also like, okay, that person is doing a ton of damage. They've been playing super aggressively. You know, they haven't died. Those are some other things you can factor. I think ult tracking, especially at your rank, is not the most important thing, but it could definitely be used to kind of help you with your positioning a little bit. So it's not a bad thing to practice, though. I think when we're talking about priorities, ult tracking wouldn't be in my top 2 or 3, but it would definitely be pretty close up there.
All right.
Like we saw last fight. I mean, you shouldn't have been on cart anyway, but the cart was extra hot because of what they had, right?
Yeah, the things just happen like that sometimes.
Now, this is really important. You're feeding.
Yeah, this is a scary position because I just saw my teammate die to a
Right.
widow.
You again are in a situation where you really have a lot of freedom on the flanks. I trust you to win the soldier 1v1, right? But as long as that Widowmaker has a scope on you, if you are not sneaking up on her or getting close to her, now you could ruin her if you get close to her. But if no.
I feel like one of my big issues I have to get over is I have to stop ego peeking widows because I just assume that they're gonna miss the shot on me.
Well,
and that I'll be able to kill them.
let me ask you a question. Let's say this widow grapples up here and you have your helix. Who wins this duel?
I win the duel.
I mean, it's like 55-60% you in the duel. Now, it's not a guarantee, but especially if your movement is good and your mechanics are good and you hit the helix, this is scary. But for her, don't play at this range, right? This works. This shouldn't have worked, right?
Yeah, if I was higher rank, the widow would have just popped my head
right.
off.
And if you're higher rank, you are also better, right? So your movement's a little bit better. But regardless, we're talking 55% of the time, 60% of the time, you lose that duel. You have to play those percentages. You're not always going to get punished for mistakes and rewarded for doing the right thing, but you have to objectively think what more often than not is the right play and what more often is the wrong play and stick with it. It's like, if I take my vitamins, I won't get sick. Well, that's not true. But you'll get sick over the course of 5, 6, 7 years, 10, 20, 30% less. I'm just making numbers out there, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. Play the odds, play the numbers.
Right, and there it is, right? I think also as well, you forgot that she was there for a second there, and that'll do it.
And right then and there was like a big lesson. Like I have to stand a little bit further back when I shoot the venom mines. I didn't realize how far the range really was.
Let me ask you a question. Remember we talked about feeding? Is this Zarya feeding in relation to her team?
I wouldn't think so because she's an LOS of both.
Right. So then
both healers kinda.
So then should she be shooting the Zarya right now?
No.
Where should she be?
Maybe on that long flank, all the way on the left, like right here, would be really, really good. Because the widow wouldn't even be able to see me unless she takes her time to like peek over. The Kiriko's free, the Ana's very free, and they're probably distracted by my diva.
Yeah, exactly. Now let me flip the script on you. They're not on Widowmaker, they're on Tracer. The Tracers are lurking on the flank right now. Now what do you do?
Then, maybe I just try to push behind my diva and help her out with her fight.
Maybe,
she looks like she's going for the supports.
Maybe.
But like, I don't think I can take a long flank against a
So
Tracer
then is shooting a tank more attractive?
Maybe in that situation.
Maybe so. See, the thing is that if they commit the resources onto a Tracer, then you guys are more comfortable just kind of peeking out and punishing the tank because you guys are a little bit better at that. But if they put resources on a Widowmaker, you really can't take the tank trade here. They're just going to win. If you peek this, you just lose. However, that opens up the flanks. You see? They can't have now. If they were on Widowmaker and Tracer, then good luck with that one. You're gonna have to figure that one out on your own. But usually there will be ways that you can position around the enemy strengths and around your hero strengths, so that you're able to get stuff done. And that helps you to choose who to shoot, how to shoot, and most importantly, how to position. Because you see how this is like not bad, but it's frustrating. It feels like she's constantly like disturbing you.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, you do put in damage on the Zarya, but you still lose the fight, right?
Yeah, it's just not enough damage.
Right,
like,
and now,
two healers.
And now this is just a mechanics test on the enemy Widowmaker. Is she gonna hit her shot? If she does, it's over.
Yeah.
On anybody.
If she's gonna hit her shot, there's a lot more people here.
Right, and there it is. Right. Your contribution this fight was a lot of damage and little pressure. A lot of damage, but nothing meaningful, and that's what we have to kind of solve. And as a new player, these situations can be very difficult, yet you came up with good solutions immediately, almost, right? Now, obviously, we're sitting here relaxed and talking about it. In game, it's a lot harder, but the knowledge is there. We just need to practice applying it just a little bit. Okay, let's stop there.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Nothing huge is sticking out right now. I mean, like, I learned that, like, the enemy comp kind of helps decide how much I can flank and stuff like that. Like, I probably could have played a lot more flanks against the whole Widow Soldier comp.
And remember, you don't have to factor in everything, just the real extreme examples, the Widowmakers, the Tracers, like, the low-hanging fruit, right? We need to prioritize. Remember, we talked about that. Okay, keep going, sorry.
Yeah, like, prioritizing, like, not every single thing that's happening. Like, I can't track all 5 of their cooldowns.
Correct.
I can't track, like, all 5 of their ults at all the exact same time. Like, if I put too much emphasis on trying to focus everything, I'll end up losing track of, like, the little stuff. Like, when I jumped off that ledge at 6 HP, I was probably trying to think of, like, a million different things, and I ended up making a small mistake because of that.
Right, exactly. Okay.
What else am I missing here?
I think Helix is something that we were kind of turning our brain off with sometimes.
Yeah, I was spamming my Helix off of cooldown a little bit too often. Like it would have been fine if I was, like, always constantly in a fight and I spammed Helix, but if I'm, like, at a super far distance and I'm trying to hit, like, a lucky Helix or something like that, maybe it's best just to save it until either they get closer
or aim it properly.
Yeah.
That was the problem. If you were spamming it, you weren't even hitting them, and you could have hit them. You know, that's the main problem for me. I struggle with that with Orisa Javelin. I tend to use it off of cooldown, and a lot of the times I just miss easy ones because I'm just kind of mindlessly pressing the button. So we've got Helix, we have positioning, especially when factoring in the enemy composition, and we have trying to prioritize, whether it's the ults, the cooldowns, things like that, and not trying to overwhelm ourselves.
Yeah, because eventually, hopefully, that builds into, like, an autopilot skill, so I don't have to, like, worry about hard focusing.
Right.
Like, I'll just know instinctively, okay, this is how I play against the Winston.
Correct.
This is how I play against the Hanzo.
Correct. And I think that's something that, like, if I were to give you a percentage of how much better you need to get at a skill before you can feel good about it and focus on something else, I would say 10%. I'm not joking. 10% improvement on any of these skills is a significant improvement, and you should move on to the next thing. I don't want you practicing in these skills for longer than, like, a week.
Okay. So, there's a week left of the season, a week left to practice these skills.
Right.
That's a good timeline.
Well, you got 1 week left to practice one of these skills.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then move on to the next season. You got another week to practice another thing, and then you go back to another thing, and then maybe we revisit one of them. You know, or you come up with your own goals. I have a whole entire coaching session. I actually just posted one on Reddit today, a short written guide and a video on how to VOD review yourself. Let me ask you a question. Nice. Did you even put any thought into healing stations this VOD at all?
Like this VOD review or
this game, let's put it that way.
No, I don't put too much thought into my healing pad.
It's not the biggest return on investment cooldown, but I guarantee you, if you put some thought into it, you could probably win a few more fights. You could probably improve your play, right? So, What about your ult usage? What about your corner positioning? Maybe if you put a week where you just practice on your mechanics in game and really try to work on your tracking, your trigger discipline, right? There's so much that you could be practicing even as a new player. And I think it's all about prioritization and keeping things fresh, mixing it up. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. In our chat right now, I want you to write the 3 things that we talked about. Type it up. Do like dash and then like whatever, right? Just kind of like that format. Do one, then the other. So do it in the order that you think you're going to work at it. Which one's the most important you think to work at?
Prioritization of how play against enemy hero comps. Let's see. Helix, rocket usage.
Well, hang on. So, how do you practice your Helix rocket usage?
Oh, okay, got it.
You see what I'm saying? I don't want you to say you need to practice, but I want you to tell yourself how you need to be practicing it.
Aim your Helix so when you shoot it.
Sure. That's great.
Don't spam it off cooldown.
Perfect. Exactly. As corny as that is, that's exactly what you need to do. Okay. And then the third one.
What am I missing? How to play against enemy hero comps. Aim your Helix rocket when you shoot it.
We talked about it. It was honestly a lot of them kind of bleed together. Maybe some of your maybe think about your positioning. Maybe just a little bit.
Positioning and maybe practicing flanks.
Sure.
So
When you should be flanking, when you should not be flanking. Yeah.
so I can get good value.
Yeah. Okay, that's perfect. And these are all things that you can be thinking about, reminding yourself between fight. I have a video I'm going to link to you, a short video that can help you a little bit with how to actually practice things like this.
Okay, cool.
Because it can sometimes it's easy to lose track, right? And that's normal. It's so like I forgot to practice that in game. The way to and that video helps break down how to deal with that a little bit. We talked a little bit about.
You also
Go ahead.
I remember you also had a video where you were like, if you're new to Overwatch, do not overwhelm yourself by like just sitting on YouTube and watching a bunch of videos. Like I know this one video is probably very, very good for my situation, but that just like that's kind of why I haven't sat through your channel and just watched like every single video.
Good.
Because if I sit there and watch videos all day, I'm not playing the game all day. And if I'm not playing the game all day, then I'm not learning as much.
Exactly. Pursue your own experiences, do your own learning, and then use me as like a supplement when and where you need to. Or if you want to do it for fun, do it for fun. But of course, like be very careful how much you consume. Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, I mean, we covered everything, and I have like a few good things to work on, plus a video to watch.
Sure. The replay code rule for students is if you do have a VOD, it could be Tracer as well, by the way. Shoot me the replay code at any time next week, a month from now, whenever you would like, and give me 3 or 4 timestamps of like, hey, 10:30 into this replay code, 16:15, the first fight, actually, how should I position? What do you think about this? I didn't know how to play into the enemy composition. I don't know how to position on this map. Do you have any advice? And I'll get back to you with some written feedback in a day or two. Sound good?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, mate.
All right.
No other questions? You are very welcome.
Yeah, no other questions.
And then if they do come up, obviously, just my DMs are always open. Excellent work. You're very smart. I've got a lot of fun stuff ahead of you, I'm sure. And remember, the most important thing that I think we talked about is embracing the losses. Don't be scared. Yeah. It's you are a scientist just loving the process of learning through every single failure. You learn a little bit more. You can experiment a little bit more. Well, that didn't work. I wonder why that didn't work. Right? It should be fun. It should be fun. Losing and winning.
Yeah. I'll learn to embrace it a little bit.
All right. Keep working at it. You're welcome, mate. Keep in touch and good luck.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. All right, mates. That was Wafhe. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I realized I didn't even ask the name. But the Soldier Extraordinary. I hope you guys found that one fun. Very intelligent new player. Okay, let's keep going. So it is time for our VOD review with Varashi. Varashi, are you ready? I think Varashi's ready. Let's look at Varashi's. This is going to be a gameplay review. Varashi, which of these codes that you sent me do you want me to look at? I haven't had a chance to check your DMs yet. I have a lot of DMs every day, so I'm a little slow. Ashe with the Tracer. Tighter corner positioning and exit strategy still needs work. I remember those were the things that we were working on with you on Esperanza, I believe. Okay. All right. I'm looking through your code here. Okay, sounds good. We're on the cusp of like constantly in and out of diamond and such. Take the Dorado one, you guys. Okay. Can I DM you hi Spile? Yes, you can. You can DM me anytime you want. And I do get back to DMs. I don't ghost people. I just sometimes don't always respond immediately. It usually takes like a day or two sometimes. Because the thing is like I have a lot of DMs, but it's also like I try not to answer DMs directly because I don't want to be checking messages all day long instead of being productive. Like I've had days where I've just like responding to people and talking back and forth, and those days are great, but sometimes that like means I don't get enough like editing done. I'm not coaching. Like I'm getting distracted from things I need to be getting done. So back in Diamond 5 since yesterday. Congratulations. Let's take a look here. So Ashe. And is this going to be a roast review for Ashe, you said? Yes or no? So when we were working on Varashi last time in Esperanza, it was basically we were playing against certain dive compositions. I believe it was a Doomfist, and we needed to have an exit strategy. So not just taking good positions, but also knowing if I get pressured, Where is my safety net? Where do I disengage to? Roast? Okay, sounds good. So what we're looking for is obviously maybe the enemy composition doesn't have a lot of dive. Definitely more of a sniper composition, so there's going to be a lot more room to talk about other things, which is going to be nice. So we're looking at your positioning, we're looking at the angles that you're holding, and I think especially versus the enemy composition, it's going to be about how are we able to avoid the Widow sideline and still be able to provide and get good value. So I guess there's not a whole lot more to add here. Let me actually... I'm not going to update the Twitch command. I just can't be bothered. Let's do this, mates. 331, and here we go. So we're going to be running a little bit behind in the map review here. So Widow is definitely a problem. And Sojourn was shot. Yeah. Oh, we're flanking. Shh. Be very quiet. Oh, she knows. I was gonna say, I'd go for the dynamite first if you can do it behind cover. Alright, let's walk, let's walk, let's walk. Ana. Nice. Okay, so it's like, I guess you end up hitting, do you end up hitting the Ana? I don't think you do. Yeah, I don't like that dynamite. I think like, I really don't like dynamites on solo tanks unless they're like really, really, really low. I just think it's just so much better for you to just like even just sit it to guarantee the kill on the Ana, or for you to be able to comfortably take the duel with the Sojourn here. I just think that that's a habit that you really, really have to break. Yeah, really lazy dynamite here. Because like right now, I don't feel comfortable with you like actually taking this duel here. Maybe you could like peek out here, probably your best bet. But obviously like without the dynamite, your ability to 1v1 heroes like Sojourn just like completely tanks. Begging you to do something. I'm just begging. Okay. Wait, I wanted to warn you by requesting to find new insult channel point. It's gone. Yes, it's gone. I don't do enough because the problem is okay. So a lot of the channel point options are removed because they were often used in points where I couldn't stop. Like if you cash in a find a new insult in the middle of me doing a coaching session with the player, like it might be like an hour and a half before I could even get to it. Not to mention I'm completely washed at finding new insults. Besides, you're not even worth the effort. Like you have got nothing else better to do anyway, so. You're not worth what the mental energy would take to find a new insult. Nice shot. Keep walking. Nice. So they're on Cassidy Reapers. So we've actually done a hard pivot here. I know we're going to talk about range again. That's the Spylo Classic. But like we've gone from, okay, avoid Widow Sightlines, avoid Sojourn with the charge. Now it's like everything is up close and personal outside of Zenyatta. So I want you like obviously playing like the quintessential sniper here. Bonus point for dad-related jokes to insults on this. I don't know, mates. I'm too washed. Here's the problem. I've gotten so sweet and sappy with all my stupid in-depth coaching sessions. I no longer have that edge that I just needed to get along in life. I'm literally taking out a piece of my soul every coaching session I have and just pouring this sticky resin in every session, and I just don't have the same edge, you know? It's like walking through muck. This is fine. Probably should walk forward, honestly. That dynamite is just really dumb. Like, just walk forward, and then even if you don't use it, you don't use it. Like, it's a lot like Sojourn E, right? Like, it's not quite as long of a cooldown, but like, it's 12 seconds. Like, it's okay if you don't use it immediately, you know? Reposition yourself, find an opportunity later. You're like giving tree, you'll end up as a stump in the end. I mean, basically, yeah. All right. What happens here? Is this must be the primal knocking people into it? Can't remember how to be mean. Yeah, it's basically it. Yeah. That's gold. That's gold. I'm not even a stump though. You can at least burn a stump. You know, there's like some kinetic energy or potential energy or whatever the stupid scientific term is in a stump. I'm worthless. Like there's just nothing alive. Okay. We need to back off. Yeah, you're getting a little succulent here. You're thinking, oh, I'm gonna hit the headshots. We need to get out. We got people on cart. Get out. Oh man, why? Like why? Okay, here's the thing. You've done everything right here. You hit a fat dynamite. You hit a headshot. You hit another headshot, and then you hit the Bob with a body shot on the Cassidy. But despite that, you're still dying. Well, let me ask you a question. What were the odds that this works? I don't know. This is just dumb. Like I don't know what you know what I'm going to say. It's just no sense of timing whatsoever. Pushing up too late and then overstaying your welcome and then wasting Bob. I think, what do you want me to say? You're an old man, so you have to find some sort of like. It feels like we're chasing some testosterone high of like in a video game. And so we like force some like really crappy play. Look, what do you want me to tell you? You know that's bad. I don't even have to explain to you why it's bad. You know why it's bad. Well played? What are you talking about? I would dynamite that. I would not be scared to dynamite that. Force Wraith, force him to back off, force him to get resources. Also, positionally wise, I actually think it would be very reasonable for you to coach gun up to this position here and take this angle here. So this position could be way better. T levels get lower the more dad you become. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, the good news for you, Lockie, is like... Okay, never mind. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to be nice. Lockie's not getting roasted here. This is respectfully really stupid. Like... We're playing like we're playing up at the Widowmaker Sojourn again, but we're not. Like, again, we've already established they're on Cassidy Reaper. Look at these morons. Look at how much damage you could be doing shooting them in the face. You don't even need to take the position that I suggested to you. You could just take the slightly further range off angle and shoot, or not even the off angle. Just shoot the Orisa in the face, you moron. Look at the backline. Look at this. What are you doing? Are we going to walk onto a Cassidy? Are we going to walk into a Reaper? Okay, we hit the dynamite. That's good. Yeah, see, I have such a, I feel dirty endorsing this because it's just you hit the shot. This is good. This actually makes sense. I still think you should have just stayed on your long angle and just shot them. This is like classic Varashi. This is why I hate playing Patreon games with them, because we rapidly alternate between, wow, Varashi, nice job, and wow, Varashi, like you need to be put in a nursing home. Please stop playing. Varashi just straight up trolls the lobby and then carries, and then trolls the lobby and carries. It's not fun to play with. Nah, you're just like, what do I say here? Like, nice job, Varashi. You took a great flank and killed everybody. And then this idiot blows a dynamite. I don't even know what we're dynamiting at this point in time. Like, I guess this is just ornamental. And then just runs into a fence. Like, who would win? Like, this outlaw, one of the most accurate outlaws in the history of the universe, with weapons and dynamites and coach guns and a giant robot, or one small fence. So we have a real problem, I think, with picking positions that actually make sense versus the enemy composition. The Widowmaker forced you to play smart, but the Cassidy Reaper is not forcing you to play smart, so you're just completely turning off your brain. I'm sorry. How long have you been playing this game? Okay, never mind. I thought you got caught in a wall there. I was so confused. Why are you here? How long do you think you're going to be able to stay there?
Can we make a petition to remove fences from Mao?
How about a petition to shut your mouth? Fences are just skill checks. If you're dealing with fences in Overwatch, you don't deserve to be playing Overwatch. We don't want you playing Overwatch. This is good. Good. Please get the kill. Nice, nice, nice. You don't need the chase, because he's gonna get the mega. Nice. Just dynamite, just dynamite. Nice. She's dead. Okay. Like, there's nothing in between. You're either deadlifting or you're doing nothing. There's just literally nothing in between. Bop, 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 bop. Yes. Health. Nice. Good. That was good. The chore of every single game. I mean, what else are you gonna do? I mean, I really just think that this position probably would have been better. Again, it feels like with you, I think it's like, I forget how like one-dimensional that Esperanza game, where it felt like you just needed to work on your disengagement, but like we've now evolved into a meta where like you're not going to be dove all the time. You actually have to start using your brain and taking Ashe duels, how to play versus Widow. Like, yes, we've not talked about this yet, but I feel like I shouldn't have to tell you, hey, Varashi, cover is good, you moron. We're not playing up against Doomfist Reaper every game anymore. You actually have to kind of think about cover. And to be honest with you, that was still relevant back then. I don't know why this is such an issue. I don't know why. So, I'm ready for another round of disappointment. Or overperforming. Good dynamite. I like the position here. This is great. Great shots. I mean, this is it. This is what I've come to expect. Either complete brain dead, batty behavior, or it's like, you know what it is? Here's what Varashi is. He's like that 78-year-old like senile grandfather at the old folks home that you come up to and either has this amazing kernel of wisdom that's just like, oh man, thank you, Grandpa, for sharing that. That's actually like, that really made me think. Or he has to tell you, whisper in your ear, that his bedpan needs to be changed. There's nothing in between. Let's see. I'm wondering which fight is it. Is it going to be the bedpan or wisdom? Bedpan or wisdom? Looking like bedpan. Definitely. Yeah. Bedpan. I mean, I really don't have anything to add there. You just could not have looked worse mechanically. You could not have looked worse mechanically. There's a Reaper on your right. By the way, if the Reaper Lucy are hard marking you up here, you really can just kind of play this angle here for a little bit to at least soften them up here, and then you can look to Coach Gun and flank around behind here, because this is, again, more of the range. If they're hard, like short range heroes are going to try and hard stuff you if they're smart to prevent you from taking the high ground, because if they don't, then you just get the high ground for free and it's just GG's, right? So you're going to need to like learn to cope with this, and it's the same kind of thing that was happening in second, where you just fell all to pieces. Like their Reaper was playing here and you're like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, you idiot, just hold here. Just shoot the backline, shoot the tank, shoot the Reaper, right? And instead you're like, I don't know what to do. And you have to go on a hard, stupid flank. Like that's not necessary, right? Like right here, you don't need to be, you don't, no. Oh, no. Why? What? Like, I just don't have to tell you why this is bad, right? This isn't, I don't have to, right? Please tell me I don't have to waste the oxygen on you right now. Please. Like, it's a Reaper with Wraith. You got a sniper. He's got a shotgun. It's not even a surprise. You see him and you're like, well, I guess I'm going in. You moron. What is wrong with you? Look at you. And you have the audacity to walk away from him reloading. Are you kidding me? You have to hit the headshot or it's over. Look at this guy. He's reloading 3 bullets. This is like a nuclear bomb. Guys, guess it's time to vacuum the carpets. No, you moron. What are you talking about? Death is imminent. Stop vacuuming the carpets. What is wrong with you? More bedpan gameplay from everybody's least favorite senior citizen. Ah, please, no, please. What are you doing? Oh, he's trying to bop. Okay, I get it. All right, it's fine. Well, the Spylo range thing I'm basically forgetting. I mean, what do you mean? Why is this a Spylo thing? Why is it the common Spylo thing that you have to play the hero like a sniper? Duh! Don't peek Widow, dimwit! Don't walk directly into Reaper! I can't believe that this is some advanced macro concept that I have to teach to the general player population. Press F1! This hero has a sniper rifle, stupid! Reaper has a shotgun, stupid! Do you know what that means? Holy crap! The basic Spylo thing. Hey, buddy, they're on Widowmaker. Widowmaker, blow your head off. Cause sniper rifle, more sniper rifle than you. Will we adjust? We will. We took a pot shot. We got closer. You aren't dense. Who would have thought? Don't. Oh, this has been great. This hasn't even been bedpan. This has been the equivalent. This is the senile grandpa is like he's not taking his med and he's sitting in the corner drooling. You've done nothing this fight. You've done nothing. At that point in time, you might as well just have gone back to your team and shot in main, or like maybe gone for a flank dynamite or something. I don't know. I mean, I get that you're in a tricky situation, but this isn't even funny. This is just that. I'm sorry. What? What? Are we just now pressing random buttons? Hello? Nice. Like, I wouldn't even bother scoping at that point. Just 80-80 strafe and aim at her head, you know? Cat, keyboard? Likely story. Life hack, guys. Always have a pet so that you have something to blame. Dynamite? Are we gonna dynamite? Are we gonna, like, do anything? Oh, I guess you're fine. I was gonna say, you could probably dynamite the Wraith out. I would have liked to have dynamited the Reaper, though, at the very least. I don't even know what the Reaper... You didn't even look at the Reaper. You didn't even... Like, did you not even see the Reaper? Like, he literally didn't see the Reaper. This is unbelievable. Again, like, we're traversing rapidly from ground of being, I don't know how to coach you to look at Reaper in front of you, and let's not walk into melee range in the Reaper, to the unbelievably dense things that I have to teach you, to the I literally physically can't coach you on this, so I'm not gonna even bother. Tunnel vision. Right, I'm sure it was the cat. Well. Sombra Reaper. Well, okay. Here, let me think about this, guys. Sombra Reaper. They no longer have Widowmaker. Huh. That advanced Spylo concept. You know that guy. He's always obsessed about his silly little details. Like, you know, playing the hero the way it's designed to be played. You know, that old geezer always talking about, you know, playing as a team and shooting people with your gun. You know, that crack. I just love it. Just really awesome. Really awesome here. I mean, what am I supposed to say? Coach gun? Hit the dynamite, please? What could I say that hasn't been said thousands of times before? Run away. Right. Run. You're an idiot. Okay. Well, next fight. This has been a breeze. Just zooming right through it. Wow! Your hero is good at shooting people! When there's not a Widowmaker threatening you, you can free fire! Oh boy, here comes the Reaper. Are we gonna run after the Reaper, or are we gonna run away? Wow! We run away! Who would have thought? Oh no, we might die. Okay, we might die. Okay, that one, at least you had the right idea. The only thing I would say there is probably better to actually coach gun, even if it's towards cover, back towards your team. That kind of goes back into like the escape route thing, where you know if they're playing Sombra Reaper, they are going to try and hunt you down. So you need to know like where your supports are, so where you can disengage to. So probably here would have been better to drop in coach gun back in this way. So a little bit of what we were talking about with the DPS thing, the Doomfist thing from the East Bronze. Oh. That dynamite could have been better too. Stop walking. Stop, 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 stop. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now, I'm going to pull a little bit of some funny shenanigans here, and I'm going to press a button. Who would have thought? She's going to come after you. And we might even have a Reaper come out. Oh, look at that. Wow. Here it comes. How are we going to handle this? Nice. 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 Well done. Wow. See, this is the problem. You do that, you don't get surprised, you hit the dynamite, and you coach gun, and I'm like, nice job. And then the bedpan. Nice try, honey. Nice. Is that cooldown trade worth it? I'm not sure, but, you know, it's not the worst thing you've done. Bop, 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 bop. Yeah. Yes. So get that backline. Get her. Get her. Probably not the biggest return on investment. I would have preferred you to actually peek on the Zenyatta here maybe instead. That Kiriko has a tendency to just like Suzu, and she could Suzu other people as well. Yes! 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 Thank you! I mean, even this, you're not even on high ground, but you're playing at like, this is not Diva's effective range, and you're farming. Now, we can walk forward now if we want to. Okay. Congrats. We have now checked the boxes for the bare minimum. Like, okay, stop, stop, stop. They're on Widowmaker. Click, click. So stop. Right now, chat. Where should you go? Let's say Widowmaker has walked her little tootsies all the way up from here, clickety clickety clack, all the way to here or here. This becomes problematic, does it not? So then what do we do? Guys are on Widowmaker. What do we do? ZHT D8. ZHT D8. Mega Room? Maybe. This seems a little bit too aggressive for me. I don't like my sightlines from here. Unless you mean here? Maybe here? Use the pillars on the high ground? Yeah. Maybe this would be better. Like if you could force that Widowmaker to take a really aggressive peek, this has to be better. You can listen for Genji, and if you dynamite him, he might have to disengage, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, how many of you guys want to bet an entire truckload of cash that this is not going to happen? I will dance a jig if Varash actually does it properly. Oh. Now they are taking space. Oh crap. So now that mega is off limits. So what do we do? What do we do? Where do we go? What do we do? Because they're doing the right thing. This is hard. But there's still an answer, isn't there? Where do you go? Drop. Right. And then what? Then what? Then what? Alt F4. Yeah. Shoot down main. You could drop and shoot this high ground because the Widow can't peek you. Or you could even drop and rotate this way. Because now this area of the map is completely free. You could just walk onto this Widowmaker if you want. Right? Yes, Locky. Yes. It would. Or just simply drop and shoot high ground. Let's see what we do. Neither! We should have died. Do it. Do it. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's it. That was good. I mean, it could have been done, but I needed you to drop faster. But yeah, that was fine. Do you see, for them to like punish you once they take high ground, the problem with when they take high ground with Genji Diva, if they can't directly access you and you just drop back and shoot them, then they're just like, well, now what? You know what I'm saying? No, because it wasn't fast enough. He didn't really earn the jig on stream. No, you were slow. Because again, Genji Diva can clear out high ground. Yes, they can. But then when you back off, they don't do any damage. So then they're like, now what, right? The Kiriko would have to go up with them to allow them to stay high ground. But then that opens up this flank even more, right? Like, it's all about whichever team recognizes where the resources are being pushed and then rotates accordingly. It's the best thing you can do. Well, this is fun. Okay, now they're on Hanzo. Same thing applies. Stop dance gaming me. You're just jealous that you don't have a voice like mine. Okay. You could dynamite that. You could also shoot at the deflect. I mean, I get it. I know, once again, we're dealing with a Pincer, but you could either dynamite this, you could disengage this, or play here, listen to the Genji, engage, and take. Because again, the Genji has to have help. He can't stay here forever. You know? I know this is hard. I'm not saying this is easy. The other stuff was easy. You really played like an idiot earlier, but this is not easy. It's like you can see into the future. Nice, you wait for the Winston to dive, you take some pot shots. Lovely. Lovely. My ear canals are violated. Huh. Don't care. Please stop, please stop, please stop. Please, please stop. Please. Ah! Oh, you could not be denser. Like, I just don't understand. Like, just don't ego. Just don't ego. Like, you can even sit up here and just wait, and then late peek here with dynamite, or wrap around, or just please stop. My anxiety can't. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, same. I didn't have anxiety until this VOD happened. Oh, this is good. This is really good. All right, dynamite. Nice, dynamite for Suzu is not a bad trade. Here comes the Genji. Here comes the Genji! Poor feller. Well, here's the deal. I think mostly your issues come from trying to think here. I think your bobs are good. Mechanics is good. Mechanics is good, I say. Mechanics are fine. Sometimes I think you could sit on your dynamite a little bit longer and not have as much like not feel the need to I have to use it immediately. That was one thing that stood out to me. Being an idiot at times, yes. There's a couple of fights, especially early on, where there just wasn't anything. It wasn't anything deep. It was just you were just being stupid. I think being a little bit more methodical with your dynamite, and definitely being more methodical with your positioning, especially because we're at a meta now where there's just going to be a lot more nuance with how you position. So factoring in the enemy's range. And then obviously factoring in where the enemy team is positioned and trying to take angles around that. Like, this is just the problem when you play a hero like Ashe or Soldier, where you're not really always going to be the longest hero in the game or the shortest hero in the game. You're going to be somewhere in between, usually. Usually it'll be the longest, but it's not always so straightforward. you're going to need to be able to do a lot of the more complicated rotates. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If you'd simply just not trolled the lobby, we wouldn't have been put in the situation where we had, remember, like a lot of our difficult positional reads were just on third point defense versus their specific comp, right? If you had simply played properly on second and first point, and even on the attack as well, where you would have full capped, we would not have had to sweat as much on these fights here. Do you see what I'm saying? We put a lot of time and emphasis talking about your rotations and avoiding Hanzo Widow sightlines here, but it also would have been okay if you just completely crapped the bed here because it was hard, if you had just simply done the easy things leading up to that. So I want you to definitely put thought into positioning and range and adjusting, rotating your angles and things like that. But also just keep in mind that a lot of these things would have been a lot easier if you just simply played the game properly. And I will add that Dynamite one in as well. Would have been better to save Bob until OT less time. I was okay with just us using Bob to win the fight. I mean, yes, they did get a recontest, but also like, you know, win the fight. Win the fight. You struggle with playing versus long range heroes. Yeah, I think that needs to be addressed. And I will say that one is maybe more map specific than anything, and something you're just going to need to adjust to in the meta. So, Dynamite, stop just using it for the sake of using it. Have a purpose. Win a 1v1, kill a squishy, pressure them out, whatever. Consider enemy consider your positioning versus enemy ranged heroes. That's the best advice that I could have as like a global, simple, one-step process. Hanzo, Widow, even Sojourns with Rose. Because obviously those heroes are going to be a lot more popular than when we reviewed last. Do you have any questions? Okay. If you do, you know the routine. DMs are open. You just let me know, mate. Map guide time. Lots to work on. Yeah, your mechanics were good. Mechanics were good. I mean, that's not a surprise, though. How to not be an idiot. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when. I mean, I don't know when you're playing. I think like a lot of it is just like keeping your focus. Like I have a feeling what probably happens when you log into Ashe is you probably just log into Ashe and you just want to click some heads. You just want some of those dopamine rush. You're probably tired. It's probably later at night, and so you're just logging in to just click some heads and have some fun. So obviously, I have to temper my coaching with that. And that's probably where a lot of the goofy mistakes happen, where you just want to ego somebody, because egoing somebody and hitting the shot is just so much more fun than doing the boring, like, smart play. You know what I'm saying? So how to not be an idiot? I don't have an answer for you. That's why I'm not putting a lot of emphasis on the idiot mistakes, because those are going to continue to happen, probably, considering how and when you're playing. I would rather put emphasis on some of the other things so that you can continue to feed, but at least you're feeding a little bit better and smarter. You know what I'm saying? Like you're feeding a little bit smarter because at least you're thinking more about your dynamites. You might still ego Reapers, but at least you're at least you have dynamite when you're egoing the Reapers. I thought being a top Patreon makes you less of an idiot. No, being a top Patreon just gives you a badge that says I'm an idiot. that's what being a top patron is. Fries you out super fast, though. I mean, yeah, that's. I have a theory for an experiment. What if I played one game at a time as Orisa? What if I only played one ranked game of Orisa at a time, but I played really seriously, like as hard as I could, with as much focus as I could? What if I only played one game at a time? Could I get to like Masters? I wonder. If I played with as much intensity every day with just one game, could I do it? I don't know. All right, chat. Let's. What do you guys want to see when a hero pool? What am I saying? Map review. You guys tell me. Because you guys give me some nominations, and then we'll get a poll started. Because I want to get a poll. Powder Iso. We already did Powder Iso. Current or future? Right now. We're going to do it right now. Right now. Shambali. I will try Shambali. I'm down to try Shambali. Pool? What does pool mean? King's Row, Shambali. Any other nominations? We'll put a vote in chat, and you guys can vote for it. But I would probably prefer to have like 3 maps in the voting pool at least, maybe 4. Circuit Royale. Okay, yeah, let's do. Oh, is in current map pool or next? I got you. Let's do those three. Let's do those three. Okay. Poll. Map review time. Shambali, Kings Row, or Circuit Royale. I think these are all going to be. Isle Eos, Impios. All right, chat. Poll is live. I accidentally set a 5-minute poll. Why is the default 5 minutes, guys? Why is the default 5 minutes? Gibraltar? Yeah, maybe we'll do that when it's back in the thing. Okay, vote. The map, the poll is live in chat. Oh my gosh, Shambali is murdering it. Shambali is going to be tough because I have, to be honest with you, I have not scrimmed it enough. However, I will be able to provide enough insight to do better than what you're doing right now. It's a lot like Powder Isa, where the map hasn't been solved, but I can share with you what insight that I have right now. We'll give it like another 20 seconds or so, and unless Circuit or Kings closes, then we'll call it. So again, in Twitch chat, you can vote, and then we'll go from there. Hi, Grim. Okay, I think we're going to do Shambali. So Shambali is an escort map. And escort maps means finding the balance between stopping cart and taking as many fights as you can and taking the best positions on the map. So Shambali is new, and as I said, I'm going to be the humblest of coaches and tell you that honestly, I don't know all the secrets to Shambali. It is just simply a new map. However, I'm going to guide you with what I know as of now, because I certainly will be able to provide insight that might otherwise not be something that people have talked about. So, first things first, Shambali is a map where the high ground is usually the most important aspect of first fight, most likely the most powerful aspect of the first fight on the first corner. So when we're playing on attack, we'll do attack first point, and then we'll do defense first point. A lot of our goal should be to try and get cart to around this corner so that then we can start to direct our assault onto high ground. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can direct your assault onto high ground. There is the internal way, where you can actually utilize the building here through heroes that can wall climb. Usually this is a little bit more risky because you're easily isolatable. There is the long flank route, which is coming up around this back area here, and this is really, really great for flankers. And then there is the simply pushing cart route, where you can push cart and rotate your backline around this direction, because if for the enemy team to contest, they do have to drop somebody off of high ground. I don't believe you can contest the cart from the high ground itself. You do have to actually walk out into the open to be able to contest. So for attackers, push cart. If you have flankers, utilize these flankers to contest the high ground so that you guys can push cart easier. Obviously, if you have dive heroes, you can even push cart and then just abandon it. Everybody engages up on top. And then the other thing to keep in mind as well is I highly, highly recommend at least sniffing out this flank here. And I really, really like this flank, especially if the enemy team is not hard holding this area. So what you'll see sometimes is defenders will hold high ground, and sometimes they'll hold back here. Now, this becomes really high risk, high reward if the backline is more rotated on this side of the map. For example, if I'm playing Roadhog, if I'm playing Tracer, Genji, a Hanzo, something like this, I can take a peek here and often have just a totally free sightline and killing backline. But the only problem with that is you're going to notice something on my left. There is no door to connect back towards my team. So this is why I call it this is why it's a high risk, high reward flank. Because if you fail on this here and they are on the floor, you have a very high risk of getting pushed or dying. So just keep that one in mind. This is one as a Junkrat. You like this one a lot. If the backline's here, you can go for your 2 taps and then leave your trap here and then disengage usually safely. So just be careful. However, this flank becomes low risk, low reward if they're on high ground, because you can easily rotate out and then take sightlines all the way around here, and then you can even use the stage up from here. Now, here's what you're going to try and do. Depending on what you're playing, you've got different ways of assaulting high ground. We talked already about the far left flank. We've talked about taking this far right angle all the way around through here. The other way that you can really do, if you play it very carefully and just generally try and only have your tank or maybe a flanker with some sort of mobility, if you could play it really carefully, you can push cart to about here. And what ends up happening is if you have the right comp for it, you can flip the map and have your backline play back here, and the cart actually slowly starts to cart away, and they actually have to leave high ground to pursue. So this is why utilizing all these flanks and angles are really important, but also being able to leverage cart is really important, because the most powerful position on the map is not a position with which you can contest cart with, and that's generally something you see very often in Overwatch. So TLDR for first little point here, use this flank here if you have the flanks or the capability to do it. If you have a really good brawl comp, you can definitely like leave cart and just rotate up here as 5 with Lucio and just totally massacre high ground with 5 brawl heroes. But unless you've got like Ryan, May, Lucio, I don't recommend that. Usually just take a flank, maybe take an angle, take a flank, take an angle, high risk, high reward here, and then go from there. Now, here's what I will say. If the enemy team is not utilizing high ground, then there really is no reason for you not to be going up and taking this high ground as a backline. So you can kind of go up here, and if their supports are back here, I don't really like playing here. I like trying to get your backliners, your Hanzos, your Genjis, your Anas, your Zenyatas up to this position here. And then you can start to kind of leverage your sightlines here. You can start to use this really great corner positioning here. And you can even start to set up flanks with your flankers up through here and even all the way around behind. This building right here, I cannot understate this. I really can't understate this. Like this building is actually so important for late first. On defense and attack, because it is the springboard for pretty much every flank in the game. Any flank that you take on attack or defense is going to come from this building. The danger with this building is that while there is a mega health pack for attackers, if you do get caught in here, it usually means that you have to, again, leave your team. So there's cart, there's your supports. If you're going in here, you're going to be by yourself. So if you run into anybody in here, you better have your cooldowns, or you better have a way of escaping if you mess up. For example, a Genji Tracer, totally fine to go in here. But I cannot tell you how many times I've played this map, and there's like a soldier trying to sneak up on my team, and I look at him, and then he's like, oh crap, and he just dies immediately. So you have to be really careful. This is really close quarters flanking, which means that, like a Widowmaker, Hanzo, Soldier, it's not bad. You just have to be really careful about it. Okay, so again, the goal is to try and take control of this high ground if you can. If they're not holding it, or if they are holding high ground, then to try and focus on leveraging cart and maybe even this flank through here to try and flip the map. Okay, if they drop to the floor, you can then take the high ground away from them, push cart further, and at some point we're going to get to a really ugly part of the map, which is this choke right here for attackers. Now this choke is rough because it's essentially a lot like the Circuit Royale effect, where a lot of resources are dumped into one particular spot, and what happens is your tank will often turn the corner into like a trillion different angles and damage and spam and scrap like that. So the best thing you could do as supports is one of two things. Number one, supports and DPS, try and remember the importance of this flank right here. If you have the heroes that can utilize this flank, do so. If they're mobile, short range, try and utilize this flank in here and fight it, make sure that the enemy doesn't get to use this flank. The other alternative is to play here, be very aware of this flank, be very cautious about this, guys, and then leverage your advantage off to the right. So this is another flank that's not quite as potent, but has a little bit more space. So if I'm playing maybe a Hanzo Soldier, I would probably prefer just kind of swing wide here, because this better complements my sightline. And a lot of people don't realize that there's a mega over here, as well as this ramp right here, which leads to a really nice sightline onto either far backline, close backline, or really anything from this position here. Now this is definitely a very high risk, high reward angle and flank, but it's one that you can utilize if you're a soldier, maybe you're a Sojourner with a Mercy, all sorts of stuff like this. Oh, minor little detail as well. Maps, this first point is actually amazing for pharmacy, because you have this building here, and most importantly, this building here, all of which are really great high ground cover. Pharmacy is actually super good on this first point. Not as good on second point, but it's a really easy cheese to win first point, especially if you're struggling with that high ground up there. Would you recommend just having all left go through left flank and reversing and defending and attacking sides? So in other words, you're saying, would you recommend having your entire team go through here? No, because oftentimes it will be walking out of this choke as 5. It's going to be very painful, and then you'd have to leave cart here, which means that even after you win the fight, you have to go back and push cart again, which means the enemy team would get a free rig contest. So no, I don't recommend that usually. So all about controlling this building here. Far right flank is really good for slightly more ranged heroes. I don't recommend ever playing in this room here as defenders, because you're really exposed here. There's really nowhere to go, and if the enemy team uses an ultimate, you're stuck. Like, that's the thing, is you always want to consider, like, where would I disengage to? So keep that one in mind. You can get on the roof. Yes, I don't always recommend it, but depending on the hero, you can get on the roof up here. This might be you take this position here. I don't know if you can sojourn slide up here, but you could definitely wall climb up to it, and then you can kind of utilize this side of the roof. Like, this might be really good for a Genji to try and put pressure on the back line. So tanks, try and hold the space on main, depending on the tank that you're playing, Orisa, Reinhardt, Zarya, and supplement and assist your team on the flanks. But the most part is you do not want to get stuck in here for too long. It can be a bit of a meat grinder. Usually this corner here comes down to which team is controlling the left or the right flank and or leverages it better. It is really hard to force defenders off, so you have to be really careful. And then the other problem as well is, like, even if the defenders back off, you have another tough corner here. Now, the nice thing is about if the defenders back off to this corner here, you do have more space on the right to leverage. So you can go even all the way out towards here without really being spooked. And again, you can continue to utilize this building here. And then if you get them to back off to there, then you can actually jump in through this window and utilize the flank directly through here. Okay? The roof is insanely important, I think. Yeah, I would agree. It's just not something that is relevant for every hero. So, like, a lot of the most relevant heroes in the game, like your backliners, your tank line, don't really need to leverage it. However, if you are running Genjis, Sojourns, Hanzos, whatever, you can utilize this. You should utilize this. I think, like, a damage boosted Ashe, if you can't get Dove here, is really strong. Okay, so this is a great question. So, how do you deal with, like, a Widowmaker and an Ashe here? Well, it's a blessing and a curse, because the blessing is that there's only a few places that a sniper can peek out from here. It's really just here or back here. That's about the only area. So it's this spot. It's not like Junkertown where there's a pretty broad spectrum of places to peek. That being said, it is pretty hard to deal with. You can play dive heroes that can either directly contest, like a Winston or a Genji. You can place your own spam heroes. You can avoid their sightlines as best as you can and just focus on pushing cart. Or if you're playing something like a Tracer Solemnbar, Wrecking Ball, or anything with hard flanking capability, remember that this flank exists with this mini health pack, and you can go all the way around behind, and it's super, super easy access onto their backline. So Tracer players, you need to be utilizing this flank, like, over and over and over and over and over again. This entire, like, section of the map from, like, on the right hand side of my screen is really important for flankers to be utilizing, either to directly contest them here or to be accessing and harassing their high ground. So it's hard, but it is definitely doable. So it's all about utilizing the flanks as best as you can. Shocker here. Okay. So defenders, utilize high ground as long as you can. Really, you have to find the balance between making sure you don't get surprised by flanks from this side or flanks from this side, right? People coming up the stairs here. And at the same time, you have to make sure that they don't push cart too far. Otherwise, like we said, you're going to C9 the cart. The cart's going to get out of the spot where you can contest it, and then all of a sudden the cart's going to be over here, and you're going to be like, guys, we have to stop cart, right? So it's you have the advantage of positioning, but it's also your responsibility to be able to mark the flanks and mark the cart at the same time. If you want to hold the corner here, this corner isn't too bad. Like, let's say you have a composition that doesn't really benefit from holding high ground. Hero Vanklet, thank you for the sub. Let's say that you've got, like, a Junkrat, May, something like that. It's totally fine to stuff this choke right here, in which case you also need to be really, really aware that one of two things might happen. One, they're going to either try and do something cheesy from you on this flank here, so be very aware of this flank. And you also need to be aware that they might just take the high ground from you. Like, if you're holding that choke, that does not stop them from taking this left flank here. So be very careful about, if you're not holding high ground, that they don't then flip the left map and take the high ground from you and you find yourself getting pincered. One other little detail to keep in mind as well is that people forget that you can climb over this wall very easily. Hanzo, Genji, Sojourn, Widowmaker, any hero really with any sort of mobility. Like, you can even see here, like, I think this is probably even accessible by a Tracer. I think you could I don't know if you could blink up here actually. But either way, there is very easy to get up and over this wall, so just keep that one in mind. So Holding close if you got a close range composition is good. If you have something with a little bit more range of benefit from high ground, it's good. Just remember, this flank, you cannot get surprised by this flank. You cannot get surprised by this flank. And if you're holding close, you cannot get surprised by these two flanks, and you need to make sure that they don't flip and take the high ground from you. That being said, if that does happen, if the cart stops here and you die, it's not the end of the world, because you will get a recontest pretty easily on this corner, which means that you're going to very comfortably get at least 2, if not 3 fights, which is really good. Hydrate, thank you. 6 days, I think. So then for recontest, like let's say you lose, you're not able to control high ground for long, or you lose the fight, whatever. Recontest, I definitely recommend at least putting a little bit of attention on recontest. Where is the door frame? On recontest, at least going through here, even as a tank, and checking this room. I don't necessarily recommend dropping through here. It's probably better to oftentimes control this corner here. But if you do have time on coming back, do check this room out to make sure there's nobody lurking in here, because you can help clear out the space and then go stop them at cart, or maybe even kill somebody and then win the fight off of that. So remember, this room is super, super important. And the nice thing is that in my opinion, for defenders, this room is a little bit stronger. The reason why that is because your backline is here, and they can actually pocket you while you're in this room, whereas the attackers, it's a lot harder for their supports to assist what's going on in this room. And not to mention, as you guys can see, you have a very nice juicy LOS on any backliners, whereas the backline LOS here is good, but it's not quite as advantageous. In addition, defenders can also peek through this window here, which is generally going to be more defender controlled. So definitely defenders, guys. Like if you're playing anything that's not like Widowmaker, you need to be considering this room, thinking about, can I leverage this to get onto backline? Can I leverage this to distract? Can I leverage this to flank? Can I even leverage this, like let's say you're playing in the tank war, a Reaper can literally sit here and just hold mouse 1 on the enemy tank, and then there's nothing that can shoot him except the enemy tank because of the cover here. Obviously we talked about the strength for attackers, the right side of the map here. So this is something that you're gonna need to keep in mind. Obviously, if you're putting a lot of resources on right, you're open and exposed to left, so your backliners need to be very careful about left side. So be cautious about that. And then I will recommend, if you're playing something like Widowmaker, Hanzo, Damage Boosted Sojourn with Mercy, it might actually be reasonable for you guys to not focus on controlling right, and instead to be leaning more into left side. Whereas you guys can see, you have a very nice angle from here. You could have a nice angle just from even this corner here. You can continue to your flanking all the way to this position right here. Like this is an awesome position for defenders if you have the pocket and support for it. And then again, we talked a little bit about the roof as well. If you can get a damage boosted Sojourn or Pharmacy, anything along these lines, like Genji can easily stage onto backline from here. So there's a lot of really good opportunities here. How can you make sure they don't get the high ground? Well, if we're talking about like defending here, you don't. If you see them going for a far left rotate and this tank is by himself or by herself, you can punish that tank for being isolated. But there's not a whole lot you could do. You can play around cover here to make the high ground a little bit weaker, but it's just one of the disadvantages. Now, late first point defense, as we said, if you have snipers or range heroes, using these angles here is really strong. It's really important that the tank line or whoever's contesting cart leverages this side of the map here for cover and doesn't stand out in the open. You just need to keep in mind that if the enemy team is also smart, they're going to leverage your cover or abuse your cover by stepping inside and shooting you from this flank here. So there is no cover at all, right? But that being said, this corner is really important. Buy time. Supports, really try and avoid sitting here. Supports need to either be playing on this back high ground supporting here, this back high ground supporting here. If you have time, rotating in through here is pretty good as a support as well. Much better cover. And then it's not the worst thing in the world if you're stuck in this room on defense as well. That leads me on to my next point. We're going to transition from defense to defense. We're going to stay on defense as we go into second. So defense on second. If you get early second defense, and I mean really early, keep in mind that this flank right here is available. So this is something that maybe a flanker could utilize, Tracer, Sombra, or if you're early contesting on second, the backline can kind of support here. Just keep in mind that this is a very long flank, so that is one big downside to it. I strongly recommend most compositions, really pretty much every composition, to try and hold this corner right about here. So between this post and this post, this is really where you want to be taking fights, and there's 2 reasons for that. Number 1 is obviously it's good cover, good corner, you stop the cart early, you easily get a recontest for late second, obviously. And the second reason why, as anybody in this chat who's ever played this map before knows, this high ground sucks for attackers. It really sucks. It sucks if they're playing Widowmaker. It sucks if they're playing Hanzo or Soldier. It sucks if they're playing Genji because you rotate your backline forward and then they just get dropped on and dove. There really is no good, easy rotation for backliners when they attack as attackers from here. And you need to be leveraging that. You need to try and stop them here and utilize your flanks from here. It could be a flank nade, it could be a Genji, it could be a Windmaker, it could be a Hanzo. You could be hitting them as they're walking up. It can hit them once they've already rotated. Obviously, especially if you have a mobile hero, you can drop, right, shoot. There's all sorts of crap that you can do from here, but we want to try and hold them here because especially if you are holding this corner here, outside of like little angles that they can take here, outside of little angles that they can take this back high ground theoretically, and theoretically as well, they can flank you all the way around from behind here. There's just not a lot of spaces and places that they can shoot you from. It's really hard for them to take good off angles on you, and the off angles that they do take are either weak or super high risk. So I really recommend a brawl, dive, spam. Whenever you can, try to control this flank. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, you want to try and control this angle and abuse this flank as much as you can. Now, as we get into the far rotates, sometimes people get fed up. They're tired of running uphill and dying and dying and dying. So what they'll try to do is they'll try and rush uphill. Now, here's what I do not recommend that you do. Graham, come here. Graham, come here. My cat's being sad. I do not recommend fighting out here as defenders. I strongly recommend that you don't. If the defenders or attackers want to do this far rotate here, unless you have like a massive ult bank, let them do the rotate. Let them. You want to fight them on this corner right here. Because they have no angles, no flanks. Hey, buddy. Come here. Come here. Don't be sad. They have no angles. They have no flanks whatsoever. Again, without going all the way behind you with like a Widowmaker or something foolish like that. And you have a very strong corner choke for them to hold them on. And it's really rough. Really, really rough for them to hold them here. Hey, come on, sit in my lap. The other thing that you have as well is you have positions you can see on the left side of my screen where up in this high ground, you have a pretty good sightline here. You have a pretty good sightline here. It's just a nasty choke. So even if they do complete this rotate here, holding them here is like really, really, really rough for them. It doesn't just like, oh, it's immediately better. It's still rough, and we want to leverage that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here with early defense. Not particular. You can spawn camp on this map. I think spawn camping is pretty legitimate. Like, you could just basically start this corner fight all over again. There's no real downside to it. The only problem is that, of course, is if you lose the spawn camp fight here, they do get to ignore this high window, right? They actually get to take the space, so you're not able to leverage that spawn camp. So I think spawn camping is really, really good, as long as this window is not super important for the heroes that you're playing. Like, let's say you're playing a dive comp. It might be better to take fights in this area. Whereas if you're playing a sniper comp, maybe it's better to take fights here as defense. Late contest, there's nothing really easy with late contest. When the card's like right here, you could definitely play this corner here as a tank line. Your DPS and supports should probably be playing around this pillar here or swinging wide to control high ground here. I will say one really underrated thing for second defense, which most of you guys are probably familiar with, is this flank window right here. You can oftentimes catch supports if the cart is anywhere from here up. You can oftentimes catch supports and DPS wrapping around behind. Sojourn, Mercy, Genji, Tracer, you're going to have a field day taking this position here. Heck, even a Widowmaker can go for a high-risk, high-reward play, drop here, and just control the sightline right behind the enemy team. It's really, really strong to do that. One other thing to keep in mind as defenders, which you can leverage and also can be leveraged on, is that this flank here exists as well, that you can kind of use, again, if you're a flanker and you need to access the backline. Just keep in mind that they can leverage it on you as well. There is technically a long flank around, and there's they have the ability to wall climb or mobile themselves up here with coach gun or whatever, right? So just keep that in mind. There's not a whole lot relevant on this side of the map. It's really quite a shame. Overwatch has a tendency to have like dead zones in some maps, which are really cool, but are just never used. Like, there's a mega here, but how many times have you actually used this mega? Did you even know that there was a mega here? But you need to know. You need to know, because if you're playing backline here and you're just chilling, and all of a sudden something comes from behind here, and you're like, what the heck? You need to know that's there. You can also jump up on the rocks on that flank. Up and over here. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second here. So just be aware of that. That's the case. Okay, so let's talk about attackers now. So attackers, good luck. This is one of the more difficult points in the game, I think, to attack. It's not as bad as like a Gibraltar second, but it is rough. And the reason why it's rough is the reason what we talked about on defense, where this window is really, really, really strong. And this is just one of the worst rotates in the game for backline. There just isn't a lot there. So here are what your options are. Your options are twofold. You could either rotate your backline up through these doors. Probably would recommend starting your rotate from here rather than starting your rotate from here. It's a little bit more cover and it's a little bit of a tighter rotation. You can assault the high ground and then rotate your backline, and this is the dead zone right here. If you can get from here to this mini health pack, you're generally okay. Once you get here, it's not great, but you're significantly safer, and at least you're on mostly neutral footing. Now, there's a couple of other options though. The other options you have here are you can definitely swing wide right, okay? You can hug the wall here. And I see a lot of people doing this rotate like this here. I don't think this rotate's that good. You're still very vulnerable, and you can basically run into the enemy tank line. But what you can do is you can rotate all the way through here, and then this is where you want to end up. Now, there just isn't any good options, guys, because like I know what you guys are gonna say, like, oh, my ranked teammates will never wait for me to do that rotate too long, and you're right. Like I just don't have an answer for you though. This is probably the safest rotate available. It's much safer than this one. It just takes a really long time to go all the way around right, hug the wall, rotate in the door, and hopefully your team hasn't died in the process. So that is those are your two best options. Please never ever rotate out in the middle here. There's no reason to ever to do that for no reason whatsoever. There is a niche where a hero like a Baptiste, a Zen, maybe that can't rotate or can play back here, support their team from like this position with like Harmony and Discord and stuff, and actually just sit and babysit this high ground. Now there's a risk that nobody comes out this window, but you can kind of zone this area from this position right here. You have a Mega, you have great cover, and you technically can still support your team from here. You can also do it from like here as well. So there have definitely been games when I've been on Zen where I just could not get the rotate off, or it took too long. So where I sit here and just kind of wait for one of their flankers to mess up and for me to punish or at least distract. And then I'm playing in a range where I can still do Harmony, I can still do Discord. So sometimes there's a good argument to just not rotate at all. And this also applies with snipers as well. If you're playing Widowmaker, you can absolutely not force the rotate. You could sit like here and just CCTV, just like zone this. You're basically your team is backline. Just keep in mind that if they scout that, they could technically leverage that 4v5 elsewhere. So far right is an option. It's especially an option if you're really struggling to rotate, because while this choke is really bad, it's safer. It's safer. So like, let's say you're playing a composition where your backline is just not able to rotate. Yes, this is not exactly better, but theoretically you're going to be able to make this rotate safely, and then maybe you could bait the enemy team to making a mistake. The problem, obviously, is if I'm playing Zen here, my sightlines just aren't that good. They can easily duck behind a corner. I am still pretty close to the enemy team, so if they pop out with like a Blizzard, with a Dragon, with a Kirikou, I don't have really anywhere to go. And the other thing you have to keep in mind as well is that far right is still vulnerable to flanks, because there's nothing stopping the defenders from punishing this far right rotate. Oh, by the way, going back to defense here, here's a little detail I forgot. If you're playing a flanker here and they do this far left rotate, I don't even recommend meeting them here. I definitely recommend meeting them here with a lot of your guys, but if you're playing like a soldier or a tracer, or even if you want to go like YOLO Ana mode, dudes creep up behind these guys and their lives are over. It's done. If you hit anything here, it's over. They've got nowhere to go. So this is a very, very dangerous flank. I don't think many people utilize this, and I don't think many people are aware of this. So maybe you guys are going to get lucky with it and not have to deal with it. But if you do go in the far right rotate, don't forget. Do not forget. And technically, you should also remember that this is a far flank as well, although that's less likely to be an issue. Okay, so far right rotate. Eventually, hopefully, we get the rotate some way, shape, or form. Maybe we get a pick. Fights are messy. You never know. We get the cart pushed up. This position is obviously really good for supports. It's really, really safe. You don't get a lot of value. So I'll say this: if you're playing Ana, Zen, Bap, Hanzo, whatever, this position is safe, but it's very hard to get value out of. This ends up being like a circuit royale where neither team really has a huge has a huge angle advantage, because the angles are so high risk, high reward. So we basically just kind of have this tunnel of pain, and eventually either team is going to win. I will obviously mention that this is something you need to be careful of, but outside of that, once you get this rotate to here, defenders don't really have an advantage. The high ground is definitely a problem, like walking uphill, but it's kind of like a stalemate. So it's not great. It's not great. I will say that if you end up having your team rotate up to here and you are playing a flanker, highly recommend utilizing this flank if you can, to try and put some pressure, to try and create an opening for your team to walk up. Now, there is a really niche strategy that I think somebody is bringing up here. If you have like a Lucio comp, especially a really fast composition, you could do this. You could definitely get the cart to like, let's say the cart's not here anymore, but it's like actually pushed up a little bit further. You could get it to like here, you know? And then what you could do is you could do your like Lucio speed rotation, everybody all the way around right, and it likely you'd be able to get out to about here and maybe even flip the map. If they stuff you here, you're gonna have a hard time. This is like a tunnel of pain, but this is there's potential here, right? I also don't think a lot of teams would expect it or know how to deal with this. So you could theoretically complete this rotate out here and access backline, like kind of flip the map on them. Maybe now you take the high ground, or maybe now you take the high ground from here. So there is potential here. There's potential here, but I think that will be something that pro teams will have to experiment more, and I don't think we'll see that very often in lower ranks because it's a very niche situation. So anyway, attackers, try and find some way to rotate, mitigate the flanks as much as you can. Push the cart, win this fight here. You need to win this fight here. If you win this fight here, you're going to get caught in another choke potentially, in which case you need to be aware of this flank. This is also where I would recommend, if you have any hero with mobility, if you get the cart to here, try and utilize this flank. If you're a Widowmaker, try and utilize this flank. If you're a Pharmacy, Sojourn, Pocketed Mercy, Tracer, Sombra, try and utilize this flank. Maybe even a Hanzo, right? Try and not get stuck in this choke too long. You know, theoretically, you can also take this flank here if you have the mobility to. I think Hanzo can wall climb up here. Sojourn, I'm not sure Sojourn can jump. So somebody correct me. I think so. Yeah, you should be able to just jump from here. You should be able to make it as well. And then this angle is obviously really good. A lot of cover. So this corner is brutal, but it is doable. It's going to also be really good to blow a lot of ultimates, just explode around this choke, and then just to win this fight. Anyone can jump it up? Really? Anybody? Can you like, you're saying like, I don't think you can hop from rock to rock, can you? Okay, any of the heroes I mentioned maybe. Okay, so anyway. So we'll continue with the attack now. So attackers, be aware of the buildings on the left here. Funky stuff can happen in here. Rarely do we see people in here. It is a spawn room, but it's worth just checking out to make sure there's nobody in here. There's no health packs or anything to mind. Yeah, there's no health packs or anything. Just be aware that people could be here. It has some platforms, maybe tanks are too fat. All right, good to know. And then again, like up here, maybe worth checking out here. Just make sure there's nothing going on around here. This is a really cool spawn room, by the way, guys. Check this out. What a cool spawn room. Anyway, long story short, attackers clear out that area, double check it. Also worth putting a little bit of attention on your right, making sure there's nothing over here. And then once you do that, this is, I would go as far to say, is like almost a neutral ground. It's really hard to say this early in the meta because we haven't seen this map enough to know how advantageous, but I know for me, third point has always felt relatively neutral. So that's good news for you attackers. As bad as second point has been, you kind of get a breath of fresh air with third, excuse me. This flank, be aware, be very aware. Push cart, control the flank, push cart, control the flank. And usually what happens is we get to about here, and then this flank really becomes really important because it's not just this flank, it's what this flank opens up. You guys see this? This entire area of the map is really, really important to control, especially if you have any form of mobility, Tracer, Widowmaker, Sojourn, even like a Pharmacy, right? Like we're not probably wanting to play Pharmacy on second, it's too enclosed, but if you can get a Pharmacy up around here, if you get a Pharmacy up around here, you're going to have a bad time. The enemy team is going to have a bad time. So controlling this right side of the map, this through flank, is really, really important. So we want to try and push cart. You're probably going to be able to push cart uncontested until this corner. And then from there, it's going to be about, can we try and push cart / control the right side? Left side is another interesting position, but I don't think it's as relevant early on. And I also think it's very difficult to control. So in other words, I don't think as attackers it's reasonable for you to be able to control this left side. Now, you can see here, it's like, oh, there's a tunnel. Nope, there's not a tunnel. It's just a dead zone. It's just a mini. There's actually no way to get to left unless you have the mobility to climb up and over. And that is a little bit tricky up until we get to the cart to here and very, very late third. So I recommend as attackers, try and control right. Pick your poison here. You know, do you want to control this sightline here? Do you want to get your Widowmaker all the way in the flank here? Do you, like this sightline is awesome. Do you want to get your Tracer? This spawn room becomes really, really relevant. I believe there's a health pack spawn in here, guys, or am I smoking something? Maybe not. But either way, this spawn room becomes really important. You can wrap all the way around behind. You need to be really, really aware of that. And I think this area of the map for defenders becomes important, but this area of the map for attackers becomes the easiest to control. So defenders and then attackers, it really just comes about swinging out the right, push cart, push cart, push cart, assault the left high ground, or just avoid it entirely. You can, and then just push from there. I don't really have a lot of feedback. Control high ground, push cart, control high ground, push cart. Utilize this flank around here. This is an awesome flank to utilize as well. And then if you get the cart pushed up far enough, you can direct an assault on this left high ground using this staircase right here. Last thing I'll say is, you know, there is pretty decent cover for backliners to play back here, but you're never ever really going to see it because it's too far from cart. So generally, backliners supports are going to always be playing on some of these pillars, which makes them very accessible. Oh, and there is a mega health back here. Okay, defenders, you got a real tough decision to make because you can absolutely hold here, but there's not a lot of, like, your tank can hold here, but he can get easily flanked. There's not, like, this position for defenders isn't really good to hold. You don't have really good, excuse me, sightlines. So what will often happen is you'll have, like, your tank holding close and your DPS hold here, but even here doesn't feel great, right? Because you're like, well, do we just all sit here? Doesn't really feel great. If you're playing certain compositions, it's okay. Like, I can see, like, a May Sojourn comp with a Ramatra working here, holding close, all right. But a lot of comps with, like, a lot of snipers or a lot of range or a lot of flankers kind of want to let the enemy come out into the open. But the problem with that is then once the cart really breaches this line for attackers, this really becomes one fight territory. So what will often happen is you have to make the decision, do we want to have two kind of mediocre fights on Shambali on third, or do we want to actually have one good fight? And usually, in my experience, what ends up happening is it's usually just one good fight for defenders. And that usually involves controlling this right high ground. And the right high ground is good, as you can see, because of the high ground, the cover, the ability to control the angles, and the ability to ease to shoot cart, right? A lot of points like first point defense where you can easily shoot cart from the high ground, same thing applies here. Very easily shoot cart. You need to be very aware that this flank exists and that enemy teams will generally, on attack, leverage the right side of the map. So be aware of that. But generally, the right side is really, really quite strong because you can easily shoot, contest, and control cart from there. Now, the one difficulty is that obviously is if they do have a Widowmaker sightline on you, they will pretty much always be able to see you. There's not a lot of places that a good Widow can't shoot you on the right high ground. So what I would recommend is flankers, if you're Sombra Tracer, whatever, Wrecking Ball, even a Road Dog right on a flank, try and control this area of the map from being abused by the enemy tracers, by the enemy Widowmakers. Try and bully them from controlling the sightline here. But like I said, defenders, this high ground, really, really, really good to use. Be aware that the attackers will often utilize something along these lines and then either avoid it or just focus cart and then make them actually come to cart where it's very easy for you to shoot them. Because as you guys can see, for attackers, it is very, very difficult to push cart if you're controlling right. There's just no cover at all. Like, there just isn't any cover. Once you guys break this plane here, the cart just becomes a shooting gallery for anybody pushing cart, and you need to be leveraging that. It should be very hard to push cart, which means that the enemy team will have to kind of leverage their attention elsewhere. That's mostly it. Supports, I think it's really good to kind of control in these areas here. You can play these positions here. You can play these positions here as well. Just be aware that your back is turned onto one of the more dangerous flanks on third point. And the DPS flankers, I definitely recommend, again, leaning left side like the attackers. And you can definitely lean this side as well, but it's a little bit more open. So I think unless you're playing something like a Soldier, Widowmaker, Cassidy, the flankers generally kind of control more of the left side as well. Yeah, but that's mostly it. I don't have anything else to add. Do you guys have any questions or any other things to add? Like I said, this is far from comprehensive. I'm sure a couple of things here I'm saying are not entirely accurate, and that will change with time as our understanding of the game and of this map becomes stronger. But this is my initial impression and my experience with playing the last, I guess, couple of, month or so. But let's just admire the beauty of this map. What a beautiful map. I actually want to see what this is. This looks like a factory. I'm not sure what this is. The flank over the wall? What flank over the wall are we talking about here? Oh, yes, good point. So, the third point, I know what you're talking about. We talked a lot about this area of the map here. Just be aware that this is a flank as well on third point. You see this placement here? It's a very high risk, high reward flank, but it is absolutely something that you're going to see leverage sometime. And even defenders can use it. Like, a defender can wall climb up and over and sneak onto your backline. Usually more utilized by attackers because it's obviously easier to access, but you will see this used. So just kind of keep that one in mind. This is a good example of a really, really beautiful map. I think objectively, whether you like this map or not, it is just a beautiful map. So I'm actually going to go visit this building. Might take our time. And it is a factory. A bit of a stain on the panorama that we have set up here. Looks like a coal factory. Is that coal, guys? Looks a little bit like coal. Some sort of mining operation we've got here. It's funny that did the smoke disappear, or am I going crazy? Yeah, the smoke is only visible from one side. That's funny. Where this supposed to be in relation to the Nepal map? Not sure. Certainly, it seemed to be in the Himalayas. But where in the Himalayas, I couldn't tell you. Right. Exactly, Brashi. I'm curious how some of these towers up here are accessible. I guess theoretically, once you go in the monastery, that there's probably some sort of like pathing inside the monastery that allows you to access. So like inner doors that allow you to, through the mountain, that allow you to access these towers. Otherwise, I see no point to these towers if they're, and I imagine they'd be accessible through here. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it in the spawn room, but I would imagine that you would. Yeah, so you'd go through this door here. This monastery is beautiful. So you'd go through this door here, and then you'd go up to the towers. You'd have your access to the towers. Cool. Well, heroes do I find the most fun to play? Definitely Zenyatta and Ana. Genji's fun, but I sometimes it's not as fun as I used to. I find Orisa fun to play as long as it's not a mirror. Then I don't find her fun to play. They're just cosmetic towers. I mean, I'm sure they're cosmetic towers, but I'm just thinking, like, in the lore, how would you get to them? Looks like we got a bit of a sunrise here. How often do I do map reviews, Spyro? Not often enough. I'm trying to do them once every, maybe, like, the same, say, 2 or 3 weeks now. But recently it's been more like once a month, which has not been great. Another Sigmat for me with Circuit Royale. Yeah. Circuit Royale is definitely one that we should do soon, though, I think. I think that's a very reasonable request. Whee! I guess, do we actually have proper sunrise here? I honestly did not notice if the day changes. I don't know if that's actually a thing. I'm a little annoyed at how slow the movement on the map is. Now, you guys are probably realizing there's an acceleration button with the replay viewer. And it's shift, I think, for me. But you think I'm moving slow now? Wait till I release the shift button. You see this? That's with shift. Look on the right side of your screen, and then without shift. I wish you could move a little bit faster. What's over those mountains, guys? Let's find out what's over those mountains. Probably nothing. We'll check it. Let's hope the new map and see the 3 is as good as this one. You're moving fast, but the scale there is just huge. Yeah, true. I love the atmosphere. Use scroll wheel to speed up. Well, I am using my scroll wheels keep onto something else, but I'm using the acceleration right now. I guess there is a new map. I did not get a chance to watch the SVB interview, but apparently it went well. I'm not sure what was announced. Yeah, so this isn't a full mountain. This is just a front. I imagine the same here. Behind, I would love to be behind the back of this mountain. There's just a giant face of Jeff Kaplan. Oh, I don't think I can go over. Can I go up? Yep, I can. And there you go. There's our little square map. Cool stuff. Note the lunar base on the moon. Ah, yeah, true. Play ball and swing over. Yep. That would be the way to do it. And there's our little Shambali monastery. I swear we've had a sunrise, chat. I swear it was all dark a second ago. Maybe it stops there, you know what I'm saying? Haha, true, Virashi. I mean, this is just gorgeous, you know what I'm saying? The sound atmosphere is always really good as well. Keep going, you'll reach India? Yeah, true. Whee. Alright. I'm gonna call it there. Chat, that's been good. Hope you guys found that one fun. This Thursday, we're going to be doing more coaching stuff. I'll have a rather raffle review this Thursday and probably some other educational stuff. I've just now going through all the feedback forms. I mean, I've gone through all of them, but I'm like actually cataloging them and prioritizing them. So hopefully we'll have some new adjustments implemented as soon as next week or the week after. Collabs coming up this Saturday. We'll be working with Boger. I'll be making a public announcement on that in a couple of days. This Saturday as well. We have it's just Boger this Saturday. So yeah, raffle review this Thursday. Exclamation mark coaching. Check out Spylo 2 on YouTube with all the VOD drops. Loves and kisses. Yeah. You're welcome, Virashi. Burgers. I love burgers. I love burgers too. All right, chat. Loves and kisses. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Spylo out. End it.